Welcome back, guys. On my journey of self-improvement, there were some people along the way that I watched, and it's something that's been doing for like decades. And she's actually one of them that I remember from so long ago, and I'm really happy to have her on the show today. She runs the 7-day mastery program, and she does it in London. She does it in Las Vegas. She's the author of The Noble Art of Seducing Women, and she's been a content creator for 15 years on YouTube. Like, she has been way before RSD was doing it, way before anybody. It's the lady right here. It's Kezia Noble. How you doing, Kezia?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for that lovely introduction.
Yes. Look, here's the thing.
Reminds me of my age.
Oh, you started when you were 15. I'm just kidding. So the thing is, Kezia. So one of the things I teach in my program is the concept of like having female teammates and women introducing you to other women, women getting you used to being around other women, so they kind of calibrate you, make you a little bit smoother, and then also women giving you access to the VIP, better clubs or whatever. And I just thought, you are the alpha wing girl. You're like you were before anyone else, and that's why I was like really excited to have you on the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
For sure. So here's the thing. Let's go into this. So I know a lot of female dating coaches, but you're one of the only female PUA trainers that I'd ever met. And so, and by the way, if you don't remember, we met one time in 2015. You were here in Las Vegas at Paris. And I'm just curious, like, how did you get into that? Because what you did was a little bit different than what I've seen for other female dating coaches who date men, or who coach men. Sorry.
So how I started was back in 2006. You want to hear the story?
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it. I'd love to hear this.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to try and shorten this as much as possible. But basically, I was headhunted. A guy approached me in the bar. He said that he runs pick-up kind of weekend boot camps. And I was like, what? What's that even? And he's like, we teach guys how to pick up women, essentially. And what we're looking for is some attractive women to give feedback to our students. So I was very skeptic about it. I thought, hold on, there's no such thing. You can't teach pickup. You can't teach how to chat up a woman. Either chemistry's there or it's not. But anyway, I went along, and there were two things that I noticed when I was on this boot camp, and they called it the hot babe section then. So it was like these hot babes. I was one of them. And we just like got chatted up by the guys and gave our feedback. So the two things that I noticed first was that there really were techniques out there that could help guys get better. And I actually saw that unfold in front of me. So I was a believer quite quickly. And the second thing that I noticed is that the other girls there, the other women, were giving really vague, wishy-washy advice, like, just smile more, be yourself, make a joke. And I was like, these guys have paid like $500 or whatever it was at the time for this. They're not paying to hear advice that they'd be able to get from their female friend or their sister. And I am a very honest person. I speak very directly. I've got into conflict over it before. But I was just very honest with them. I said, look, you need to do this, A, B, and C. This was crap. This was okay. And as I left, I thought they're going to come after me with pitchforks, these guys. I've been too honest. And actually, they were just like, can we book you for a one-on-one? Can we book you for a private session? I was like, what are you talking about? Anyway, to cut a long story short, I started working more regularly at these boot camps. I became much better with what I was teaching. I just became a better teacher, more constructive. I think my criticism became much more constructive. And this company was called PUA Training. You might remember them. They were run by Richard Larowina, gambler.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I started working for the company. I became one of their head coaches. I was the only woman at the time doing this. I think there was like some wing girls out there. I think Mystery had a kind of wing girl at some point.
Marnie. Yeah, I remember that. It was
I don't remember the names, but there were definitely some wing girls out there. But, I on the side, though, I started up a YouTube channel, which I shouldn't have really because I was working for the company. But he didn't mind Richard. But that started growing. Those numbers really started growing. And I realized, okay, that men do want to hear honest female advice about this stuff, not wishy-washy crap like most of the female dating coaches still give, by the way, from what I've seen.
You've already got to my next question. That's terrific. Keep going. That's awesome. Yeah.
I'm just gonna speak this up for you. I don't want to be boring. But anyway, I basically got a book deal. Publishing company approached me, and that's when I said, you know what, I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to launch my own company. And yeah, the rest is history. So that's how I got into it.
So you obviously the concept that you believed before this guy approached you, which is there's chemistry there or there's not. And by the way, it's really funny because I have a panel show here where we'll have 10 girls on there, and there's still a lot of women who think that way. In fact, I'd say most women still live in that world where they kind of don't think that because if I explained to a man, if I was like, hey, there's something that an unattractive woman could say to you to make you attracted to her, he'd be like, that's ridiculous. Of course you can't do that. And so when you say this same kind of concept to a woman, a lot of times they're like, yeah, just be hot and tall and rich, and then you'll get. Go ahead.
Well, that helps, being tall and rich and handsome. That helps.
Yeah, but like the thing is, when I have a conversation with them, like they wouldn't conceive of the concept of a man becoming funnier, having boundaries, choosing a deeper register, getting into better shape, like becoming financially independent, becoming a leader of other individuals. These concepts making him more attractive, him not having those things and then later having those, was just concepts that, like, even my girlfriend now, she's 22. I don't think that they grasped those concepts a lot of times, and so it's interesting because, like what you said before, and this was the thing is. The criticism was whenever I would ask women for advice or I'd listen to women give advice to men, it was always they were giving the advice about the men that they were already attracted to. So buy roses and be, vulnerable is something that like you want Brad Pitt to do to you. But like men that they didn't find attractive, that they would not give advice for that because they couldn't conceptually conceive of a man who they weren't attracted to doing anything to make them attracted.
Yeah. So basically, when you're attracted to someone, they can do anything. Within reason, they can do anything. They can be soppy, they can be vulnerable, they can be needy to a certain point. If you really already invest in them, if you're attracted to them, if you've built feelings for them. But yeah, it means a guy coming off the street just talking to you, he can't show any of those flaws. I believe anyone can learn game, but I think it does require a lot of discipline. And I think you need to be emotionally detached from the situation whilst you're learning game. It's very important. You need to almost become reptilian when you're learning game.
It's awesome that you say that. Today, Chris Williamson just put out a post, and he was basically talking about how men who are super alpha need to be more vulnerable in front of their wives. And basically the concept from male dating coaches is that you should never do that. And that's not the case. The case is I don't think you should do it in the beginning. And like you just said, like learning game. In the beginning, you should not tell a girl why the last 3 girls broke up with you. That kind of stuff, like being overtly vulnerable in the beginning. And you've mentioned this before. Go ahead.
You do controlled vulnerability. So this is very, though, kind of advanced stuff. I wouldn't teach my newbie kind of students this, but there's controlled vulnerability and unapologetic vulnerability, which can work quite well. It's very good for guys if they want to give her a little insight to that shadow side. We can talk about that later, shadow side.
Go ahead. Sorry.
But for beginners, no, they have to show no vulnerability at all. They can show tenderness, they can show kindness, things like that, but not vulnerability. I do agree with you on that.
I think the difference is with what you're talking about, and even Mystery used to talk about, like, willingness to emote or whatever. The concept is you're not a victim. When I am emoting about something, like for instance, a dog dying or whatever, I'm not a victim in the story. That's the difference. And then what I think the issue is, like, because I know this one guy, like his wife leaves him and he starts posting about it all over social media about his wife leaving him. And like, he's just erratic and it's 10 paragraph stuff. And like everyone who's watching this thinks it's his fault. And that's like, you can't post this, even though it's not your fault. It's like, I just tell dudes all the time, it's like, when you have a victim mentality, that's something you can't bring into a relationship in the beginning. It doesn't matter who you're going out with, but it's okay to be, like, I think emotional to emote, but like being vulnerable is way too much in the beginning. When your wife has a baby and you want to cry, that's absolutely totally normal. It's just in the beginning.
That's controlled vulnerability. That's what I call it. It's controlled vulnerability, exactly like the dog or something. The way you describe it. So if you said to someone, look, this is how I felt at this time and it really affected me, but you're saying it in a very strong way. You're not saying, please help me, I'm a complete fucking mess, fix me, please. You're not saying that, you're not saying it in that way, then it's fine. Because women do need to have that little insight that he's not this one-dimensional bad guy or something.
Yeah.
But when you're learning game, you need to be reptilian as fuck. You need to be completely emotionally detached. All of my students that can do that, they learn so quickly and they get the results a lot more quickly. That doesn't mean you shouldn't enjoy it or anything like that. I meant can't take it personally. You need to go through that pain. You need to get rejected. You need to feel it. You need to feel the burn, and then you become immune to it. And that's when it all starts happening.
It's so great. I say the word dispassionate, but reptilian's a better word. I think I'm going to start using that. That's a great word. That's a great way to describe it. So here we go. Let's go back. So 06, how different is the dating market then? So in 06, this would have been the first year of MySpace. We don't have Facebook until like 2010. And I saw you had some videos of like what happens when you talk to a girl over Facebook. And it was so interesting because of the way things changed. 2011, we get Instagram, and then we start having, the Instagram is the first point at which I saw a guy had more followers than another guy. And then he was more attractive to a certain group of women. And then people started stunning on each other on Instagram. And then the other thing that I noticed, and I've had several guys come on the show and say this, is like from the time of like, say, 03 to right now, you would go to the hottest nightclub in the city and all the prettiest girls in the city were in that nightclub. If you go out in Los Angeles to the hottest nightclub in the city, you don't see any of the prettiest girls anymore because they're making $300K a month on OF. It's just, there's just been this big, it's almost like social media has sucked a lot of the girls out of these IRL situations. I'm just curious, what has been your observation since like 06 to right now?
God, so much has changed in dating, but I always say the fundamentals of attraction has stayed the same. It stayed the same, it hasn't changed. But yes, the biggest issue is the whole online kind of aspect. OnlyFans, I think it's more of a thing in America. It does happen in England, but I can just imagine LA and Miami. My God, every next girl probably got an OnlyFans. Not so much the case in London, but it does happen. The dating apps, that's been the big thing. So dating apps, basically, when they first came out, yeah, okay, people felt this is the silver bullet. I don't need to approach anyone, don't need to make an effort. Just got to, say the right things online and then meet up and it's all good. But what people have found out is that now, especially now, it's starting to eat up their time more than if they had approached a woman in real life.
Yeah.
It's meant to be a time saver. It's not a time saver anymore. In fact, you're wasting more time because you're going back and forth. Everyone's ghosting each other because the moment, and no disrespect to anyone that's listening to this that's on dating apps, I'm not on dating apps. But if you're on a dating app, you're immediately in the replaceable category. Personally, I don't want to be in a replaceable category, but you're immediately putting yourself in that category. You are one swipe away from the new, shinier thing that's waiting. So everyone's kind of thinking, especially men, the only men that do well really out of dating apps are the top 10%, the really, really good looking guys. Guys that are just like average looking, they're not doing well. What they're getting is the leftovers. They're getting the leftovers. They're getting the women who are on there just for ego boosts, women who just want extra people to follow them on their social media accounts. They're getting the catfish. They're getting all the crap, basically. And they just, they're going back and forth on these messages. And then when they actually do, 'cause it's like playing a slot machine, isn't it? It's like, oh, get the jackpot at some point. And then they meet, they get a few dates. And guess what? Girl's fatter than her picture. And he's shorter than his picture. And everyone's disappointed. And I think people are starting to realize, unless they're in the top 10%, again, they're starting to realize, hey, I'm not really getting the results that I thought I was going to get. But it's like it's an addiction. It's like a slot machine. I know so many women also, they delete their apps and they go back to it after 3 months. They can't cope without it. They need that again.
Yeah.
They're so reliant on it. And that's, I think, something about, I'm sorry, again, to anyone that's listening to this that's on dating apps, I don't mean to offend them, but I'm going to speak quite candidly here. It's something very unmasculine about being on a dating app for a man. Women, I get it, but men, it's like you're in this kind of like passive state. You think you're being active, swiping left and right. It's not very masculine. What's masculine is going up to a woman, approaching her. There's a thrill in it. So I know a lot of my students who ditched the dating apps, who went back to approaching a woman, they said there's a thrill. It's an adrenaline. Even when they didn't always get the woman, there was something about the approach, the sparring, the banter, the eye contact, just the rush of it. There's something masculine about that, a man going for what he wants. If you're on a dating app, you're just in this sort of passive and active state, convincing yourselves, no, I'm really being proactive. It's not. I mean, women also, by the way, tip for your listeners, for your viewers, women are more attracted to men who aren't on dating apps. So lie and tell her you're not on dating apps. There's a line between you and those guys who are. Say, you know what? I think it's weak. I think men who rely on dating apps are weak. I like to go for what I want. If I see a beautiful woman, I'm approaching her. Make that line draw that line between you and them. That's a little tip.
That's so great. So to go back to what you're saying before, but there's about 6 times as many men as women on dating apps. It's really great. Next week, my guest is Aaron Clary. He's an economist who studies basically the economics of dating, meaning how much effort and time does an average man put in order to go on a date. Some of the stats that he goes over is like a woman will left swipe 6,000 times for every one date she goes on. There's this one video, I don't know if you've seen it on TikTok. It's pretty crazy. This guy did 1 million right swipes, went on 2 dates, and then like didn't even hook up with anyone. And he wasn't a good looking guy, but he was just kind of an average looking guy. The data when women are surveyed on these, and not just dating apps, but also eHarmony and OkCupid, is that 80% of men on these apps are deemed to be below average attractiveness. 20% of men are deemed to be attractive, but only 4.5%, you said 10%, but about 4.5% of men are so attractive that women will actually pursue them. I have some guys that work in my company. They're in that 4.5%, and their dating apps are great. They're right swipes. They're going on several dates a week. The rest of them, it's exactly what you said. When you see an attractive woman, this is maybe just a Vegas thing, but if you see an attractive woman and she right swipes on you, she is a prostitute. She's trying to get you to go down her OnlyFans funnel. She has some sort of mental disorder, or you've met someone who's just getting back into the dating market. She's, maybe in her mid 40s and has like 4 children with her, and she's getting back into it this way for like short-term casual dating. The thing I have to say, and this is another thing, Kezia, an attractive woman does not need an app for short-term sexual access. Let me say that again. Attractive women do not need an app for short-term sexual access. You were like, I'm worried about offending people. I'm not worried about offending them. I completely agree with you. When you looked at Ashley Madison, which was like a cheating app, it was 98% men on there and 2% women. Women do not need an app for short-term sexual access. They don't. And so that's what I was saying before. That's why I love what you were talking about before.
They're not on there for that. Women are on there looking for relationships, most of them. There are a few, of course, that are looking for just a hookup, but a lot of them are using it for relationships. And the men know that. It puts the man in a stronger advantage, to be honest, than the women.
Yeah.
But, your friends that you've mentioned, these top 4% guys, why are they on dating apps?
Because it's easy. They just right swipe and girls show up. It's
masculine. That's not masculine.
Yeah.
There's something about every guy I've met who said I'm not on dating apps. Immediately he goes up in my estimation. Immediately.
Nice, for sure.
No offense to your friends. Sorry, I don't want to.
Oh no, listen, Kezia, we offend each other all the time. My course is like a Marine Corps boot camp. Don't worry about it. Say whatever. And by the way, this is the other thing. I had a friend of mine. Similar situation to what you talked about before. Several times I would ask girls for advice about things because I used to manage a strip club, and then I worked here in Las Vegas, so it was always like 7 girls to every guy. Wherever I go, I was the host of the Maxim parties. So it was just one of these situations where there were just a lot of women around, and some of them I'm just friends with, and I would have these discussions with them. And you're right, the advice was terrible, often very terrible. Then every once in a while, I'd meet a girl who was just very much like, yeah, dude, she's fucking some other dude. I was like, what? And she'd be like, yeah, that girl's not into you at all, dude. She just doesn't give a fuck. I'm like, huh? And this girl who was telling me this, she was like a man eater. This girl would like run through dudes, and her advice was so brutally honest. I was like, okay, there's a few women who are like open and honest about this thing, but it's not most of them. And then when I met one, I would pay attention and listen to what they say because their honesty was so brutal and people appreciated that. And that's why I think you've been so successful, all over this time, because you're willing to give this advice that like a lot of other women aren't. Because a lot of times when you tell women, hey, you notice how you keep saying you want to date a nice guy, but your last 3 exes you keep saying are narcissists. Do you see how that's confusing to men? How that doesn't like match up? And I just do appreciate when some women are out there and are like willing to say, yeah, that's because women will say one thing and be attracted to a different thing.
Yeah. No, was your friend giving you feedback or advice? Because what I do is not just say this is what the situation is. I tell them how to fix it. That's very important.
Oh no, it wasn't giving advice. She was just what I'm saying is like there are some women that are just in touch with their. She would say things like this: I keep ending up with the asshole. Like for some reason, toxic men turn me on. It was like there was a level of honesty I wasn't used to, or a level of like self-reflection, almost like shadow work. It was like a level of self-reflection that I was like always shocked, and that I would always listen to what she had to say about her emotions. I'm not saying from an advice standpoint. Go ahead.
To be a good dating coach, you have to be honest about yourself.
For sure.
Also.
Yeah. Definitely. Have you felt like that before? Have you had a situation where like it kind of made you realize, hey, I'm attracted to someone maybe for the wrong reason, for toxic reasons or whatever? Go ahead.
I know straight away. I know I can break down every reason for why I'm attracted to somebody. I can break it down. And I love it. I talk about it with some close friends. I break it down. I said, he did this and he did that. And they're like, we get it. Yeah. But it's like micro detail, because I'm all about the micro detail. all about the little tiny things that people do that create the bigger picture. That's how I teach my students. I sort of stay away from, I think like red pill, for instance, is more like a philosophy.
Yes.
I hate philosophy. I fucking hate philosophy. I want to know what gets me from A to B. So if I fancied one of your friends, I'd say to you, tell me what to do. Give me a roadmap and make it detailed as fuck and let me follow it so I can get him. I don't want to hear about this and you know how I need to change my mindset. And no, just tell me what I need to do, step-by-step instructions. Thank you. And that's what I give my students. I tell them, look, if a woman says this, for instance, if a woman says fuck off, you say this. Whereas red pill say, oh, you know, ignore a woman like that. You don't need her. You know, she's just a bitch. Walk off from that kind of a woman. I'll be like, no, you might not be attracted to her still, but isn't it good if you know how to respond to even get a woman who's telling you to fuck off to be attracted to you? That's a strength. That's a real skill. And when you know you've got a skill, then you create a positive feedback loop. So when you know you can do something, not you think you know you can do it, you actually have gone out and done it and you've got the results. What happens is then you start becoming more confident. It becomes more authentic, that confidence, rather than fake confidence. Like, oh, she's just a bitch, you know, let's just ignore her. You know, you're way better than her. And all, again, that philosophy, that kind of not actually knowing what to do.
Yeah.
So I'm very much all about the micro detail. I have no time for people. If I want something, I need to have the step-by-step roadmap or I'm not listening.
Yeah. I was always curious, like, why is it that, because when I hear this, you know, I've heard other coaches talk to me about very similar to what you, like my course is called Men of Action for the exact same reason. I'm not into philosophy. I want to give you a roadmap from point A to point B. But it just seems like London was different when it came to the pickup community. There was something going on in Piccadilly Circus. Like there was more of a cold approach, try to steal your girl, and more so than Paris, more so than New York. It probably started in Los Angeles, but London seemed to adopt this pickup mentality more than any other city I've ever seen. Why is that?
Oh God, I can't answer. I have no idea. I didn't even question it. But I know London became like the epicenter at some point
Yeah.
for all this stuff, which was good for me.
Yeah.
But God, I don't know. I think maybe London's like a melting pot of so many different cultures or something. I can't answer that. I don't know why.
Yeah, it is just interesting, but it is one of these things where, like, in LA, it was big, but it was never as big. Dude, when I was in London, I'd go visit, and it was just like, they're just trying to steal your fucking girl, like walking straight out of the club. The dudes are very upfront, and it's just a very different vibe there. So
probably on my boot camp, that's who you probably encountered.
right? Yeah, for sure. So anyway, let's go back to this whole thing. Let's say around, one thing I think people should understand is like sort of differentiate is, the concept of now, like say prior to say 2016, when there's manosphere red pill content. And obviously, I'm involved in some of that role as one of my best friends, but this concept like before, if you can talk about like say from 2006 to before that point, it's like 2015, there's no political part of this. There's no discussion of morality and there's no discussion of like body count. I remember reading those forums 20 years ago and nobody ever cared about this. Like back then it was like what you just said. It was simply, here's what you do to pick up the girl. And there was no other discussion besides that.
I think first of all, it's used as a distraction. So it's kind of like become now an excuse to not hit on that woman, her body counts this or she's that, don't go for this kind of girl. And it's just kind of putting your sort of self-restricting who you can speak to. But I'm going to speak candidly here. I think a lot of the people in that manosphere, red pill, I'm not really involved in it. I look at it from the sides. I observe it from the sides. I see a lot of bitterness.
For sure.
But bitterness is dangerous. So if you take nerves or lack of self-confidence, you can hide that shit. I teach my students how to do that. You can hide it. You can camouflage it. It's hard, but you can camouflage it if you know how. And then you've got neediness. That's one of the hardest ones to camouflage. But it is doable. It's doable with a great deal of discipline. Bitterness, you cannot hide because it's entrenched. It's entrenched and it's chronic. And it comes out in passive aggressive. So when you're talking to a guy, now men don't notice it. This is what's very interesting. Men don't notice when these guys are talking that there's a passive aggression. But women pick up on passive aggression like this, and it's a big red flag. nerves, things like that are not attractive to women, but passive aggression is very unsettling to a woman.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of, there's a guy, I'm sorry, you're probably friends with him. I'm not going to call him out. He's just a guy in the Red Pill movement. He's a middle-aged guy. And you can almost touch the bitterness on him. You can, and he's going out there saying, you know, you shouldn't marry this kind of woman. Don't go with a single mom. Fine, that's his message, but it's not coming from a happy place. And women, and this is something very important. I say to my students who come with me with the frustration, bitterness, and I get it. I get why they've had years of rejection, or they've experienced heartbreak. They have my sympathy, but me being sympathetic to them is not going to get them results. What they need to do, again, is remove themselves from the situation, remove themselves emotionally from the situation. And they have to do the inner work. It's the only time I say you've got to do that inner work if you're bitter. Confidence, stuff like that, we can fix it, fine. You just got to go out there, get the results, get that positive feedback loop. But with bitterness, as I said, it's chronic.
Yeah.
And you have to do the inner work. You have to start liking yourself again. You have to start understanding that you can't take this baggage with you to the next girl. She can smell it on you. She can smell it.
Yeah.
Okay, that baggage, that hostility. And so the best way to describe it when you're talking to somebody who has it is it's not through the body language, funny enough. It's through the eye contact and the verbal delivery. So they'll be looking at you very intensely. So when guys are bitter or they don't like women and they chat you up, they're looking at you very intensely. There's no breaking eye contact like someone who's nervous. They're looking at you very, very intensely. And their verbal delivery is it's almost like you're being told off. Okay, it's kind of delivered in a confident way, but it almost feels like the woman's being told off and she doesn't know, you know, why am I being told off? Something's off about this guy's vibe. So what happens is then the guy walks away from that interaction. He's like, you know what? I was giving her my full eye contact. That was on point. That's not the problem. And my, vocal delivery was quite masculine. So that's not the problem. So it must be her fucking problem. She's a bitch. And that's how it all starts. It starts going into that, it's that circle. It's that circle.
Yeah.
And I see that in the Red Pill movement. I see I feel that they're using their platforms to purge their pain, to purge it, and to, sort of connect with other people's pain. It's very clever. I mean, it's a clever thing to do, isn't it? I feel the pain. I've been through it too. And they are the enemy and we're the good people, and everything's black and white and everyone go to sleep and be happy. I'm very much about, what do you do? What's next? How do I fix this? I'm very proactive like that. So I've had some horrible relationships, horrible. But every single new relationship I get into, my expectations are I don't have any expectations they're going to be like the last one. You have to come away from bad relationships wiser, but not more bitter. You go in there like, right, okay, I need to manage that better. What did I do wrong in that last relationship? Where did I fuck up so that I don't make that same mistake? Again, reptilian, rather than, all women are fucking bitches and that woman broke my heart and this next bitch is going to break my heart. Yeah. She's going to spill that on you within seconds.
Yeah, it's so great that you bring that up, that it is really great point about the bitterness. So Rollo and I, like I said, we host a show. There'll be like 10 girls on here. And the first couple of weeks we had girls on and they would have like large social media followings. And then we'd read the comments and it would be like, this girl's a hoe, this girl's a hoe. No good man would ever date her. And I'm like, no, her boyfriend's worth $400 million. Like, I'm pretty sure you're wrong about this. And I was like, it's really interesting. And Rollo was the first time he'd ever seen it. He was like, because he kind of knew that this was the case, but until we started hosting the show. So I was like, as an experiment, I went and got a girl who's like 21, had slept with one dude in her whole life and was like very pretty. Another girl, I've had 2 Miss Nevadas on the show before, and I just wanted to see what their reaction was. And it's the same thing. These girls are hoes. They're low status. These are going to be terrible mothers. And I was like, dude, I don't remember in 2006 anyone ever saying this shit. Like, I don't remember. The criticism used to be, she's not hot enough. I can maybe see that. The criticism is now, she's not good enough for me. And I'm like, bro, you are commenting on a YouTube video at 11 p.m. at night. Bro, what are you doing? Your username is like Mr. Big Stuff 46382 and you don't have a fucking avatar and you're telling me that this girl isn't good enough for you. And it's just like, this is the level of cope is just outrageous whenever I see this kind of stuff. And so it got to the point where, like, again, what you'll find is that a lot of red pill content creators totally agree with you. The men that are bitter in the space, they don't help it. I love David Duchovny and was the show Californication. He's a line in there. He's like, I fall in love with every woman I meet. That's how my whole life I've had nothing but really, really positive interactions with women. So I love being around women, and I think that's very helpful to me. One of the things that I'll have often is I'll have a client who'll come on and I'll try to describe this concept to him. I'll say, if you had an opportunity to sit in a hot tub with 12 beautiful women and you weren't going to sleep with them for whatever reason, they had to go to work, whatever, would you enjoy just listening to them talk shit, talk about their exes, all this kind of stuff? Would you find that to be a positive interaction, or would you rather just masturbate and play video games? And like, I was like, for me, I'd rather just be in the hot tub. I think it's fun. I love listening to these women. And because of that, I have a much easier time talking to women. And a lot of my clients were like, no, I like having sex with women, but I don't like women. And I felt like that was the delineation between the guys who I saw were really good and the guys who weren't.
Have you ever been bad with women?
Yeah, probably in my early 20s, I was pretty bad. I think the thing that kind of made it, oh yeah, definitely. I would say I tried way too much in college. I think the thing that did it for me, my come to Jesus moment, was when I started managing a strip club, and I just started seeing these girls who, at the time, remember this is 1999, the most beautiful women I'd seen in my life at that point, and I consistently watched them say one thing and do another, like tolerate domestic abuse, all kinds of crazy stuff. And then like all of a sudden, the one that I didn't pay any attention to became outrageously attracted to me. One girl, she would come, like the prettiest girl in the whole strip club, she would come up to me and she would say something to the effect of, hey, I fucking hate I was a DJ at the time. I fucking hate the other DJ. This guy's an asshole, blah, 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 whatever. And then she comes to me a couple weeks later. She goes, yeah, I left my husband. I was like, oh, that's crazy. And I'm thinking I'm going to ask her out. And she goes, yeah, I moved in with the other DJ. And I'm like, wait a sec, what? It was like, there was these moments where I was like, something is broken. Something Disney, the church, and my mom is telling me isn't real, but I didn't need to have bitterness towards it. And it wasn't honestly until I got into evolutionary psychology and I started realizing women have the necessity to be pickier than men because women have more parental investment than men do, and men are more interested in casual sex because it allows them a higher probability of passing on their genetics. Once you understood that this is like hominid evolution, then it's like the hate goes away. You just understand this is what natural selection, these were survival proclivities that we had that aided us in survival, because there used to be 10, 20, 30,000 humans on the planet, and one misstep, you would wipe out the species. There's been 15 other species of hominids on this planet, and all of them are dead. Homo habilis, Homo erectus, Homo neanderthalis. There was this one species, Homo sapiens, that figured out how to work together in groups and figured out how to like protect themselves from other predators. And in doing so, those added traits caused them to survive and have, now there's 8 billion of us on the planet, and the rest of them are extinct. And so whenever these proclivities are, they must have aided in our survival at some point. How can you hate that?
But you know what? I'm glad you didn't get bitter about that. But you see how, like, some guys, they can get bitter from that experience.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's downward spiral. It feeds because what happens is they start talking to women and they want it. They sort of almost like, yeah, you know what? She's going to reject me. I know this.
Oh,
she's
yeah.
going to reject me. That is the sub communication that's going on. But women are really good at picking that up. So all my female friends that watch kind of like red pill content, they're just like, these guys are losers. You know, they'll literally say, not because they're losers in terms of how they look or how they dress, just like they obviously are in terrible pain. They're like wounded animals. They need fucking help. Men who, see, this is one thing, okay, this is going to be a bit controversial, but why do you think so many women go for these woke kind of guys? You know, that wokey kind of liberal guy,
yes.
And he's got that kind of artistic look. Because he fucking loves women. He's not bitter. He might have other flaws, but he's not bitter. He loves women. He does like women. And that is going to always be more attractive than some angry man who's just angry with life and angry with women. I'm using two extremes here, but that extreme, the other extreme, that wokey kind of liberal arty guy, he's still going to get laid. There's more chance of him getting laid. That needs to register in these guys' head who are listening to these guys.
For sure. Can you talk, because we kind of skipped over this, can you talk about how Instagram changed things? Like now it was like this one weird thing where you could like stunt on another guy. You could show you had more than another dude, or that women would have more followers than other people, and you started to see almost like the status hierarchy that happened on there. And there was, again, I'll just use the example of Dan Bilzerian because he's a friend of mine. He started getting disproportionately high numbers of women coming after him, and he was doing less and less. He was showing less and less effort. And I'm just curious, like, did that change have an effect in the dating market? Let me see if I can back up and say this. What I've seen from Instagram specifically is that it helped a small group of men get a ton of access to women, and a large group of men have a lot more difficulty, and that it also took a lot of women out of IRL situations. Whereas before, they'd get validation from showing up in their new dress or pulling up in a nice car to a club. That didn't exist anymore. They didn't need to do that. They could get their validation through social media, and so that changed the dating market. Is that what you've seen?
Yes, I mean, there is a lot of women going around now who are 10s on Instagram, who are 4s even in real life, and they're getting that same amount of validation. I mean, look, even on my Instagram, I'm not going to lie, I get so much validation from it. And I'm like, I can't imagine what the 25-year-old women are getting, the really, really hot ones that, post a lot more than I do. I would say to guys out there, okay, I'm going to ask you this question. What's the difference between dating apps really and Instagram, would you say? Like in terms of like when people are using Instagram to date?
Yeah. So on Instagram, I'm living my life passively, and then you get to join. And the other thing is, like, when I post a story, you can see my story. I can post funny memes, and my memes can just be about my life. And I can post up-to-date things about my cats or whatever. And so I can live my life passively and generate attraction triggers with low perceived effort. But when I do it on...
my question, I asked it incorrectly. Mm-hmm. So if you went on a dating app, mm-hmm. you signed up to a dating app, what would the difference be between your dating profile and your Instagram page? Would there be much?
Yeah, there would be difference. I'm a little bit a bigger proponent of like showing fun times and pre-selection on Instagram than I am on dating apps.
But on a dating profile, you can't have this picture of you and Miss Nevada on there.
You can. I wouldn't make it the first picture. I maybe like number 6 or something like that. But
you could kind of convey that lifestyle that you live on a dating app, correct?
You could. The problem is you're also exposed to 6 times there's 6 times as many men as women. You're just exposed to more women on Instagram than you would be on a dating app. That's the other reason why I prefer Instagram to dating app.
But just going with that logic, you would still then clean up more than maybe not the 4%, but the 10%, let's say,
sure.
More than the 9%. So a guy that doesn't have your lifestyle and he's on Instagram, in that case, is still fucked. Do you see what I mean? So if he's on dating profile on Instagram, he's still fucked.
Well,
he has good looks or the lifestyle.
For sure. There are ways to show the lifestyle, and there's also the lifestyle can be, let's go to Red Rock. Let's stand in front of, Westminster's Abbey. Like there's different things where I can show access to scarce resources. I can show competency, relevancy. There's different ways to have a good social media profile. No matter how good you are at cold approach, I think you should have a really good social media profile that shows that you're a well-rounded human being, that you have a physique where you're not overweight. Like I do think if your social media profile should be something where you work to get into better shape and go do more fun, cool things so that you can show it on social media, I do think that's been very helpful. I can tell you personally, it's been outrageously helpful in that type of situation. And my clients, that is what I help them do.
No, but you have that lifestyle. So when you meet these women, mm-hmm. It's not like they go, "Oh, I thought you had this incredible lifestyle, and actually you're just a loser." You're the genuine thing. You're
sure.
putting your life.
Absolutely.
You might be hyperbolizing some areas of it, fair enough, yeah. Enhancing some areas, but it's pretty much accurate.
Yeah.
So for me, I know the 3 guys that I know who have the most phenomenal game on this planet. Mm-hmm. One has a social media account, which is the most pathetic Instagram I've ever seen, of him falling off a skateboard, his dog, and something else. He cleans up with women. The other one, also terrible Instagram account. And the third one doesn't really even have one. He has a Facebook or something. They clean up. So it is possible. Guys can do it. They can go out and learn a game. And I know it's worked for you, but if guys don't have that lifestyle and they have put up this kind of fake, strange lifestyle, and then the girl meets them and is like, okay, you're a loser. Again, it's that investment of time is wasted, okay? then isn't it better if he just says, I'm not on social media? And again, goes to the dating app thing going, I don't want to be one of those guys on Instagram. I
I,
love my life.
I,
And
I,
that's what one of the guys did, by the way, that I met. He was just, I don't want to be on bloody Instagram. I don't want to be on Facebook. I'm loving my life. And that I found very attractive. So it can work. So I'm saying your idea can work, but also just saying I'm above Instagram. I'm above it.
I think it's harder and harder to be above social media because of the prevalence of the users. And the other thing is like, so I have 800 clients in my program right now, and the first thing we do is have them have a social media. We still teach them how to talk to people in real life, but we teach them to have a social media profile that shows different things that are, again, competency, relevancy, access to scarce resources, and high status. We have them show those things, and they're not faking it. Like, for instance, if I travel, I'm not faking it. I was at those places. If I'm helping
I'm not saying you were.
No, any of them, any of the 800. If I go to an animal rescue, I'm not faking it. If I go to a toy drive, I'm not faking it. If I actually adopt animals, I'm not faking it. If I go to the gym, I'm not faking it. Where I'd be faking it is if I was trying to show AP watches and Lamborghinis, and I don't ever tell my clients to do that. There's no money ever involved with my program. We don't do that. What we do is create social circles by using social media, and our ability to message 4,000 or 5,000 people, that makes it a lot easier for then we throw these massive events where it's 7 girls to every guy, and that's what makes it so much easier in my program. That's what's worked for me for the last.
Widening opportunities. I do get it.
Mm-hmm.
With having a really good Instagram account, you've got more opportunities. But it does become an extension of a dating app to a certain degree. You're using it to date women. You're using it for other things also. You use it for your business. But I think it's very important that a guy always can go back to that source. He can always say, I can do it without any of this. Because you can have your Instagram removed. You can have it removed at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or you can just lose followers. I don't know, something happens, God forbid. But for me, all that stuff, it's all extras. For me, it's about the guy having good game. Because let's say he has that incredible Instagram account or dating profile, and he is handsome, and he goes and meets the woman, and he's got no game, he's got no chat, doesn't know how to talk to her.
Yeah.
He's back at square one. He's almost back at square. I mean, he's going to get a few of the girls who are just interested in the lifestyle, of course, but he's really back to square one. I mean, I've helped celebrities who've said that they like to, celebrities in England, I should say, who can't get women outside of UK. No one knows who they are. And they come to me and going, it's so easy for me to just pick up women in England because I'm in this soap opera and EastEnders or whatever it is. But when I go to America or Brazil, no one knows the fuck I am, and I have to learn game. I think a man having that understanding of game and knowing how to talk to a woman any moment is that supersedes any kind of Instagram account, dating profile. That's what I believe, because you never know, you might one day lose all that and you've got you and your wits, and that's it.
I lost my Instagram one time for impersonating Michael Sartain. Swear to God. It was the craziest thing in the world. I'm like writing them. I'm like, but I'm me. It was so funny. There was all these fake accounts of me that had popped up, and they were claiming that I was fake. It was so fucking stupid.
I've got them too.
Yeah.
I've got the fake accounts, the real Kezia Noble. It's really annoying because people are like, I messaged you and you ignored me. I was like, that's not my account.
It's so funny, dude. Okay, so this is another thing, this main thing I wanted to talk to you about, really important. And it is the concept of, I noticed that this is just something that happened to me on accident. There were some girls back at the strip club I used to work at. There's a couple hundred girls that work there. And one of them would have a birthday, and I would be like, I didn't drink, so I was always the designated driver, and I would show up to clubs for like a girl's birthday with like 10 or 20 girls. So it'd be me, one guy, and it'd be like 10 or 20 girls. And in my incident, there'd be like maybe 1 or 2 girls that I fancied or whatever. I'd go in, and what I noticed was that women who weren't in our group would come up and start talking to me. Obviously, I also noticed I never had to pay for drinks. I got into everywhere really, really easily. And random girls that I didn't know would come up and they'd want to know things about me. They'd be super nice to me. And then if I had some girls who actually had game and knew what they were doing, like 2 of my close friends, they're both playmates, Kindly Myers and CJ Sparks. When I was single, I would go out and these girls knew exactly what to say to women, and then they'd bring them back. The concept of a wing girl, could you go over that?
I don't usually teach my clients to rely on wing girls, but yes, obviously it's good because if she's a beautiful woman, it gives you clout and it's, gives you social value. Yeah, obviously it helps. But most women don't have game. That's really interesting that you mentioned these women have game. Most women, especially beautiful women, have zero game. I mean, the uglier women are going to have more game.
Right.
Beautiful women have no game. They just have to look good and be compliant and available, and it's pretty much it. So I'm quite surprised. Beautiful women usually don't have much game at
No,
all.
these girls are freaking awesome, man.
We're lucky.
They're like sergeants in the army. But you can help them. You can kind of give them some feedback. The thing that I noticed though is that when I was, and I've taught several of my clients, is when I'm the guy who showed up with 6 or 7 girls, I didn't have to approach anyone. Girls would just come up and approach me, and
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's like the celebrity effect, isn't it? I mean, a celebrity doesn't have to do anything; it just goes in there because. Okay, so this is like the successful guy. What happens is women, they just believe that there's certain characteristics which are indicative of that success.
Mm,
If you meet a success, if okay, this goes back to the wealthy guy. If you meet a guy and he's wealthy and successful, you believe that, well, that means he must be very confident. He must have a lot of self-belief. And that's why he's successful. So it's actually those attributes that the woman finds attractive rather than the symptoms of those attributes. If that makes sense.
yeah,
But if you actually take someone and go, no, he, acquired that wealth through hard work. Now, hard work is something that you can admire, but it's not attractive. It's not an attractive quality. It's just something you can admire and respect, right?
yeah,
But so I have a lot of very wealthy clients. They're like, I can't get can't get women.
yeah.
It's I'm so successful. It's like, yeah, because your game is so shit.
You're right.
It's like you talk and you start. I've dated on a personal level billionaires, very, very wealthy men, and they're so needy. They're
Sure.
so needy. Like, they need you to qualify them. Like, am I enough? Am I enough? I've got this. I've got this jet. I've got this. Is it enough? And you can smell it. You can feel it on them.
Mm,
And they should like downplay it. You should almost like. You have to almost be comical with it.
sure.
Some guys be comical and make fun of it, like, pretend they're poor, make it funny, like, I'm
Right.
poor, I've got nothing. And the girl kind of knows, yeah, he's lying here, but he really doesn't give a shit to that point. And that's something that I think is so important, is women really are attracted to guys who don't give a fuck, who truly don't give a fuck. But to get to that point takes a lot of time, takes a lot of work.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I totally agree. That's terrific.
There's 2 characters I could say, and they're quite manic.
Uh-huh.
You've seen Face Off. Yeah.
Say it again.
You've seen the film Face Off.
Yeah. I remember it was John Travolta and Nicolas Cage. Was that it?
Cage's character is what a lot of women want. Not the fact he was a terrorist and all that, but his character. He was totally manic, totally didn't give a fuck what people thought about him, like to the point of ridiculous. Okay. And it proved it, because when he went into the other guy's body, suddenly that guy became attractive because he had taken his, he'd adopted his kind of, personality traits. Another one is Fish Called Wanda. This is such old films that I'm sure.
Of course, I remember.
Kevin Kline in that. Otto. He's mad, but he's brilliant. Every woman's attracted to Otto. Every woman. Because he really doesn't care what people think at all. And I think so when I meet my wealthy kind of like students, I say to them, it's because you're trying to overprove that you're wealthy. She knows you're wealthy, okay? Now you need to actually be ridiculous and do something which is kind of like counteracts that. Do you know what I mean? It's hard to explain this. This is quite advanced.
So this is the way I would explain it, because I have several clients who are very wealthy, and one of the things that I notice it is either the insecurity or the hyperlogical mindset that they had that caused them to make a great deal of money, and then they try to take that hyperlogical mindset or that level of insecurity that caused them to fight harder, that determination, that chip on their shoulder. They bring that into an interaction with women, and it doesn't work because they're trying to overprove something.
That's bitterness territory. Yeah. Chip on the shoulder is bitterness territory. You got to leave that at the door.
Yeah. But that's the thing that I've noticed. It was the thing that made them successful in business, did not make them successful with dating, but they had the wealth. And a lot of times, the worst, and I don't know if you can speak to this, but if you've ever had a client who comes to you and is like, yeah, I used to hire prostitutes, there's a problem. There's a hard way to wean them off, because what they've done is they've received sexual validation by exchanging money. And every time I try to get them out and say, hey, let's go do some cold approach, let's go talk to some women, when a woman who's less attractive than who they were paying to sleep with rejects them, it's so hard. They run right back. And that's one of the main things. That is one of the most, this is why I recommend guys try to get away from porn and really, really, really avoid more than anything paying prostitutes because of that reason.
I'd say prostitutes is better than porn even. Porn's the worst. Porn is the absolute worst for guys. Just lose all their motivation to even talk to a woman.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, man. It is one of those crazy things. One of the things I really enjoyed, and we're actually doing something similar to this. If you go back and you watch like Eben Pagan, like his original videos, the David D'Angelo stuff, he switched over later and then started doing stuff with he was David D'Angelo, switched over to Eben Pagan. He does a video series called Get Altitude, and he starts correlating everything he learned from creating the squeeze page into a business. You did a great video that I loved, which had to do with like the correlations between dating and marketing. This is one thing that I've noticed because I do teach a business portion of my course, is that when we get to the highest level, we start to see very, very similar, a lot of correlations between goal-oriented communication when it comes to marketing, when it comes to sales, and when it comes to dating. And I was wondering if you could talk more about that.
Wait, hold on. Look, I have my book here. I'm just going to get it. Look, the irresistible option. Honestly, I didn't know we were going to talk about that. And that talks about the 10 principles of attraction, how you can apply it to marketing. Yeah, of course, it's all about marketing. It's like, I get my students, they say, you are the product. Let's talk about what you like about yourself. What are your, what's your selling points?
Yeah.
Again, let's get reptilian. I'm going to use that more now. And let's look at what your selling points are, and let's show how we can bring them to the forefront of the conversation and the interactions. How can you demonstrate these qualities? It's very important. You're the product. I do the marketing.
Yeah.
And that's what game is. It's marketing. It's marketing, and then the inner game follows.
Yes. The marketing.
You have to get those reference points. You have to build up those reference points. And then you start to go, oh, actually, women do like me. I do. I've got it. I know how to do this now. Okay, yeah, maybe I'm not such a loser. Maybe I'm not so unattractive woman. I just couldn't communicate myself or express myself properly. And then we go through their negative points. Okay, let's conceal them. Let's really hide those things. How do we camouflage them? Again, I work very much on outer game rather than inner game. Okay, I say the inner game. I do a little bit of inner game, like the bitterness thing. They need work on. Okay,
sure.
That it can't move forward until they've worked on that. But I always say the inner game will follow. You need to get those results first of all. But it's very much a game is about marketing. So it's like knowing that clever phrase, what to say to a woman, can completely change her perception of you. So going back to my original point that I made about if a girl says fuck off to you, what do you do? What do you do? It's a chess game. There's a move. She's made her move. What's your move? Okay. If you respond, if you react, I should say, with aggression or emotionally, you're going to make a bad move. So there's reaction and there's response. Most people react. But if you respond intelligently, you can win this game. You can. And I always go back to that. You've got to think, what do I say in all circumstances? So if she says fuck off, most people will say, oh, I'm really sorry. I'm sorry that I was born. Have a good evening. The second response is usually like, well, fuck you. You're ugly anyhow, whatever. I was doing you a favor. But what about going to her and saying, oh, my God, I've fallen in love with you? What? Like, what do you say? I fucking love bitches. I hate nice girls. And then guess what happens? We've actually done this. The girl smiles. That whole shield, the shit test. Shit test I can talk about for hours. She does the shit test that she's done. The mask falls and she smiles. And that's when you have to top it. Next chess move. Don't you dare fucking smile now and ruin this moment. Don't you dare ruin it. And so it's all moves. It's micro moves, okay? She's made her move. What's your response? And you can do that in any situation. You can do it if someone's confrontational with you, if someone throws you a test. And when that little clever comeback lines, those little clever comeback lines, they paint a picture for the woman. Because the reason that she's giving tests is because she wants to know, A, that you're strong, and B, that you can lead. That's what women are doing it for. Subconsciously or consciously, they need to know that you are strong and that you can lead. So if you respond in a way which controls the frame of the interaction, that shows you can lead. And it shows that you're confident because you're not hurt by what she said. Always be unfazed by this stuff. So if a woman says to you, oh, where'd you get that watch? From an Argos catalogue? Say, no, fuck you. I got it from a bum. Found some dead guy in the street and I took it off. So you hyperbolize you own it. You own the insult. And then what happens is she thinks, he can handle me. This guy can handle me. He can handle situations and he can lead because you are controlling the frame. Guys, always control the frame. And if you're emotional, you'll never control the frame. You are being controlled by emotions. You won't control the frame.
I love it. Have you ever read Alex Hormozy? Have you ever read his books? He's a
No.
$100 million offer, $100 million leads. I love this book because we've been able to quadruple our sales every year because of some of the stuff he taught. But one of the things he says in $100 million offer is make an offer that's so good that people would feel stupid for saying no. And I was like, man, that was really good advice. It's just one of the things that we started doing. We started throwing these events, and it was like, we're going to rescue animals, and there's going to be a bunch of celebrities there. And what was the other thing? We would have a photographer show up, and we would just come up with these different like things where it was like every night we're going to would have a party, and everyone's going to dress up like their favorite Harry Potter character or whatever. And the girls were like, yeah, I would just fucking rather do that than go to a club and have some dude offer me cocaine. And it just started working for us really well, just to have a better offer. So that's one of the things I really loved about that book. And that's what I loved about your correlation there.
The only character I know in Harry Potter is Harry Potter.
There you go. There we go. I love it. Beautiful. So here we go. One of my favorite videos you did, and I actually just sent this to Rollo right now, is the one where you're with the blonde lady. She's 50 years old, and you talk about dating through the years. And I was wondering if you could go through that. Like I really thought that was fascinating. The different things that you thought women experienced, early 20s, late 20s, early 30s, late 30s, and 40s.
Okay, so in your 20s, you'll guys, if they're dating women in their 20s, especially early 20s. They're dating her mom usually, or dating, her consigliere, whoever the fuck that is, that she's nominated for that role. You've got all these like influences around her. They're very influenced young women, and it's not just like influenced by their friends. Like, when I was 20 years old, I just had like you had kind of like the media, the mainstream media, and you had your friends, but now it's like social media feeding people shit all day, and these women are on their phones all the fucking time now in their 20s. So that's quite a challenge for guys, is that that they've got to always be mindful of there's people in their ears talking from every direction about you, about what you're doing. 30s is difficult if it's early 30s or late 30s. Depends if the guy wants to have a child or not. I think a lot of my clients, they say, what age are you looking for? And they all say between sort of 25 and this is usually these are my older clients, 25 and 35. I desperately want a child. I'm like, and you're picking a 35-year-old and you want to have a child? It's going to take at least 2 years for you to get married. And then it's like she's going to be 37. It's not impossible, but it's a lot harder. So the guy's not thinking about these kind of things. But in your 30s, early 30s, it's okay. You still think you have like a million years ahead of you before you get old. And you're not thinking about children so much. But I think that when you get a 35, that's very difficult for guys, because that's when the woman is like, if she's not got a child, she's longing for a child at 35, usually.
Yeah.
40s is a good time. I'm not just saying it because I'm in my 40s, but it is a kind of like, she usually has a child by then. The children are done. She's had them. She's fine. And she's not listening to other people. In 40s, late 30s, you're not really listening. Early 30s, they're still listening to people.
Yeah.
You need to get this kind of guy. You need to have this kind of life. You get to your early 40s, you're kind of like, I'm really done with what other people have to say. But obviously, I mean, a lot of guys are not going to want to be with a woman in her 40s. But and I can't speak for 50s. I'm not there yet. So
you did mention, I thought, a couple things about women feeling like insecure about their bodies in their early 20s, and also women feeling like they're superheroes when they're in their 30s, because now they're still attractive, but they have money now.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I remember that now. So 30s, they've got the money with it. They've usually got a good job now. Some women now earning more than men. It's crazy. They are very emboldened, those women, very empowered. But, there's still this point at 35, around 33, 35, around that age where TikTok, the time to have a baby, and that's what makes them kind of more insecure. But no, in terms of like what their body looks like and things like that, no, they're much more confident in themselves.
Yeah.
I was at my most confident, I would say, at 32. I peaked at 32, I would say. That's when I felt best about myself. Knew how to dress, knew what to say, game got sharpened a little bit more than in my 20s. I grew a brain, basics. And I was making a lot of money. So that's probably when I peaked in terms of my confidence, for sure.
Okay.
I mean, I'm confident in a different way now. I've got children and things, and that gives you a completely different sense of confidence having children
For
in
sure.
yourself.
Okay, so
That, that,
I want to talk more about your experience, Kezia. So, like, were you in these early days? What is your life like? Are you dating a guy who's in the pickup community? Like, are you going through relationships like this? Is the fact that you're a public figure affecting your dating life? What were there highs and lows? Where, man, I really wish I hadn't been involved with this person, and I was involved with this person. What was that like for you?
oh my goodness. I never dated a pickup artist.
Okay.
But at the beginning, I was in a long-term relationship. The father of my child, actually. We got married, divorced. But guys that I meet who know what I do, I don't even tell them what I do. I use my middle name so they don't Google me. And when I find out what I do, a lot of them, they're just like, they feel that they are being monitored basically throughout the day.
Yeah, I can see
Yeah.
that. I think it's fascinating, but yeah, that's awesome.
Interesting enough, because again, this is through my Instagram. I've had a lot of interest from celebrities. I don't know if they're just sort of contacting me and having a date, so I can give them feedback. I'm not sure, but I go for very young guys. This is my thing, though. I go for very, very young.
Mm,
But then again, I've been with some older guys who've absolutely blown my mind.
yeah.
Again, it goes back to game. So there's type, there's game versus type. You know, everyone has their type. I've been with guys who've preferred younger women, and I've bewitched them. I've used my my
Yeah.
sorcery,
Yeah.
to speak. And I'm sure that you've met women who've been like, okay, I like this kind of guy. It's like, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
fine, let's play a game here. And that's very fun also. But I go for very, very young, usually young and stupid. I prefer.
There we go. I love that. There is the viral TikTok clip. The So when you go back to type, one of the things I've noticed, there's a great book called Why Women Have Sex by David Buss and Cindy Meston. And they go over the different reasons why women have sex. And there seems to be more of a distribution, like a wider distribution of reasons why, or like you said, more types. So I know some girls only date guys who are really tall, or guys who have tattoos, or guys who have six packs, or guys who are emo, like the emo thing, or the facial tattoos. Or there's these different sects where women are like, I'm super attracted to this guy because he belongs to whatever tribe or type. It goes back to like high school cliques or whatever. For women, for men, it's different. It's like Selma Hayek when she was young was very attractive. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Jessica Biel, no guy is like, yeah, she's not my type. It seems for men, attractiveness trumps type way more. But for women, you're right. Type has a lot more to do with it.
Yeah, but women will universally say that Brad Pitt's handsome.
They do, but a lot of them wouldn't go out with him. Like I've had this conversation before, and I talked to a lot of girls, and like sometimes the girls will be like, they only
Brad Pitt chats up that girl. She's going to say, no, I'm busy.
I'm with you, but like some of them are like, I only like black guys, or I only like this type. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like most men, most dudes who like guys who date white women will date Hispanic women, will date Asian women, will date Middle Eastern. Like I've met the particularity to a certain race. I see that more with women than I do with men. And the particularity to like certain things, like I know some women only want guys who have blue eyes or guys who are blonde hair, and I just see that there's a differentiation or like a different types that women are attracted to. But there is like a central type, like you said, Brad Pitt in Fight Club would be the normal distribution, the middle of the distribution. Most women would find that attractive. Chris Hemsworth playing Thor, that would be something most women find attractive. You don't find that attractive?
Oh, no.
Go ahead. He's not attractive. Go ahead. No, I just want to hear more about this. You don't like Chris Hemsworth?
I like Timothy Chalamet. That's the ultimate man for me.
Who is it?
Timothy Chalamet.
Okay, I don't even know who that is. But like that's the thing. We all have different types. That's my point.
Okay. So female desire is a lot more complex than male desire.
Yes.
We're not talking about love. We're talking about initial desire. So it's more multi-layered. Men, three things that they're looking for. Number one is looks. That's the first and foremost. Second is availability, and third is compliance. You know, is she nice? Is she going to be easy? Is she going to do what she's told to do, and just make life easy? And is she nice and friendly and so forth? Now, in a relationship, they're looking for a whole different, wide scope of different attributes. We're not talking about that. For females, female desire is very complex because it's about how the man makes them feel. So they've got their little type thing going on. Oh, I like blue eyes. I like black men. I like white men. They've got that thing going on. But then, is the man confident? Can he handle himself? How does he deal with the waiter? How did he make me feel? What was his comeback like? Does he give me the ick? This ick thing is a woman problem. It's not a man problem as much. Men can look over icks. Women struggle with it. They really do. So women, it's not about them thinking they're better. This is what a lot of guys get wrong. They think, oh, that woman thinks she's too good for me. There are women I know who do not think they're beautiful at all. They think they're unattractive, and they're like, I wouldn't go out with that guy. I wouldn't. And their tastes are impossible, but not because they think they're better. This is a myth. They don't think they're better. It's just that women are more, their desire is more complex. It's more multi-layered. And that's why men don't get it. They think, oh, she's just above herself. I know very insecure women who are single because they can't find anyone that they exactly like. They've got all these icks. They've got these problems. It's not because they think they're better.
Yeah. The number of men not having sex in the last year or in a previous year has gone up. It was like 12% before 2008, before there was an iPhone. Now it's almost 30% in the United States. There's 26% of men under the age of 30 are virgins. There's the under the age of 30, 60. Go ahead.
It's crazy. Come on, you're from my era. Everyone's losing their virginity.
No, that's my point. I was getting to that point. I was like, but in you and I'm 46. I didn't have an iPhone until I was 23 years old. Or I didn't have an iPhone until I was 30. I had a 30 years old before I had my first iPhone with a Facebook app on it. So I knew how to date, and I'd been in a fist fight. Like I'd lived life. I'd fought in 2 wars at this point. In Iraq and Afghanistan. So like I had a concept of like what the world was like. And a lot of these guys, you're right, they don't have that whole thing. My question is this: do you feel that in some way, when we talk about the sexlessness of men, if you ever listen to Scott Galloway or Richard Reeves, he's from the Brookings Institute. He's British. He used to work for the Prime Minister in the UK. They both go over this concept where there's like this mismatch in dating, where there's this group of men who are, because 68% of college graduates in the United States are female, there's this group of men that are being left behind from an educational standpoint and from a monetary standpoint and from a societal standpoint. And what's happened is, additionally, you'll have dating apps. And I was listening to this one video, this guy who designs dating apps, and he was like, it's really bad for women to left swipe on thousands of men and thinking in her mind that she could lock these men down, when in reality she probably couldn't. And then her expectation for her partner becomes unrealistic. I think pornography does this for men, and I feel like social media, specifically Instagram, has done this for a large group of women, to where their belief in what they can get, because one time they fucked a power forward, they fucked a center fielder for Chelsea, they all of a sudden think that that's the level of man that they can get all the time and lock down. And I've just seen a level of delusion that's happened specifically from the girls that I've had here on my show.
Okay, so there's an element of what you're saying that I agree with. Okay, I definitely agree with. Let's give you a personal story. So I have dated celebrities, and I went out with for a little while a Premiership footballer. That's quite a big. Sorry for your US kind of.
It's the NFL. Yeah, there's 20 teams in their Premier League, and their top players like make as much, or if not more. Like Mbappe in his Premier League, or in his league, he makes over $100 million a year. Right. So yeah, it's the equivalent to our NFL.
Yeah. So he was quite a big deal and everything, and wealthy and all the rest of it. And the next guy that I dated after him was broke. So I don't believe that because I was going at that guy that suddenly, now my expectations are higher. Now, maybe on one level there were, like mentally I was thinking, I got him, so I need someone else like that. Yes, until one guy comes along and runs game on me and completely, captivates me. So you are right that there are women like that, but that I don't believe that men should look at it and go, well, okay, well, I'm fucked because she goes out with these kind of guys or those kind of guys, or she has this level of expectation, which is why it's so important to approach a woman. Because if you're approaching a woman just through Instagram or a dating app, all she's going with is, how many followers does he have? What's his lifestyle like? And what does he look like in his pictures? But when you actually go up to somebody, you can express so much more. You can express confidence. You can express your humor, your wit, your kindness, whatever it is, whatever your selling points are. You cannot do that behind a screen. You can do it to a certain extent, but not to the same level as when you're actually face to face with someone. Because if a guy, again, doesn't have the great lifestyle, doesn't have the good looks, he is fucked on those apps
For
and
sure.
things. The only thing he's got left is his game. That's all he's got left. Yeah, he can try and get in shape and try and be the best he can be, and looks wise, he's done that, fine. All he's got left is game, going up, approaching, and showing what he's all about. Now, all the guys that I dated, if not all of them, there's a few that were real knockouts, but good looking, that means. But the rest of the guys, if I'd have met them, if my first interaction had been via a dating app, I would have swiped no, because they weren't physically my type.
Mm.
The way they approached me, the way that they came back to my stupid test I gave them, the way that they handled the situation, the way they spoke to me. It's so important that guys understand this. So I do agree with you that there's all these women out there going, "Oh, I should be dating Hollywood royalty because I dated this guy and I'm going to go to the next point." But they can't. Okay, they can't. They have all these women have certain glass ceilings. There's only a certain amount that they can get to. That's not the point. That's irrelevant. That should be really irrelevant to guys. They should just say, okay, don't give a shit. She's used to these kind of guys. I'm gonna dazzle her. I'm gonna go in there with my game, and I'm going to make her like me. Because that's all you've got. There's no other choice. You have to go in like that. And it's worked on me. As I said, guy absolutely broke. I was infatuated with him. All I could think about was this guy. He just had game. That's all he had. And he did it. He could do it with any woman. That's a power. That's a real power.
Incredible. There's some studies that go over this. So where most women find most men to be unattractive, that's what's called an unfamiliar environment. In a familiar environment, things start to even up. So in an unfamiliar environment, women tend to find most men to be below average attractiveness, which of course mathematically doesn't work. But in a familiar environment, meaning people that they know or people that are in their social circle, these men that they previously thought were a 4 that can come up to like an 8. So what I found is like getting them out of an unfamiliar environment. So that would be nightclub, dating apps, stuff like that, getting them into a familiar environment, go on an Insta date, come to an event I'm doing, or get to know me like, more, know more about me on social media, whatever. That gets them into a familiar environment, and it just seems like you said before. Now you have the ability to present yourself. You have the ability to show these different attributes. Whereas before, if those attributes are not shown, then it's just which guy's hotter, and that's where a lot of these guys fall behind. But that's an unfamiliar environment versus a familiar environment, and that's why I think it's different. Like what you said before, the dating apps, these guys aren't going to do very well.
Yeah, but also what you're doing is like a kind of a quick route to get there. I understand. And when you're in, for instance, an office situation, you can create a slow burner then. Okay, the girl wasn't initially attracted to you when you first came into the office, but then after, she sees how you talk to people, how you handle things, and then something, that slow burn begins. Really what you have to do in game is you have to speed up that slow burn. It becomes a fast burn, right? You need to speed it up. You need to show all these attributes very, very quickly. But what you're doing, I understand, it's like kind of putting them in a different environment where their value goes up.
Yeah.
But don't you think that guys that can do that, and there are guys out, this is what I can't stress enough. I've been seduced by these guys. Me with my wily ways, who knows every trick in the book, I have been seduced by them. And that's all they had was game. They had that banter. They knew what to do. They knew how to make me laugh. They knew what buttons to press. You understand? So
yeah.
I think I think everything else, the dating apps, the Instagram, that's all extras.
Mm-hmm.
Have that. Great. That's that extra. It's going to give you that final push. But just know that you can do it on your own.
One of the things I hear a lot, and you made some videos about this, was the concept of, I think it's really bad for guys to be put in the friend zone by any girl. We had a girl in here one time, Laura Skina, and she was talking about this. She called them pick-me guys. And I thought it was a really interesting observation. She's like, I realized that if I put this dude in the friend zone, other girls are going to put this guy in the friend zone too. And I was like, damn, I didn't think about that. That's really important. I think dudes should avoid that like the fucking plague. Like anything, like getting consistently put in the friend zone is bad. Now, having a normal conversation, there's nothing wrong with being friends with women. That's different. Being friends with women is fine. Being put in the friend zone where I'm shooting my shot with no intent and then I'm getting put in the friend zone, I think that's problematic. You had a great video, I thought, about this, about getting out of the friend zone. And I thought it was really interesting, especially when you started talking about other dynamics where the guy was the woman could see that this guy was attractive to other women. Can you go over that concept? Because I really feel like that's almost like the holy grail, right? If you were able to teach a program that 100% got guys out of the program, out of the friend zone, you make $1 billion.
So I think that's step 3 or 4 when you have to show that there are other women who are interested in you. You
Sure.
can't do that every way. So with the friend zone, the first step is that she has to rethink you. Okay, she has become too familiar with you. She second guessed you, so she has to rethink you completely. So I'm going to shorten this. So basically, the first one is just sort of like being less available. Suddenly, you're less available. Okay, you're not the agony uncle that's going to sit there and listen to her crap late in the evening. You're not going to be her emotional tampon anymore. You've got things to do. You've got stuff going on in your life. You're busy, and so then she's going to start to miss you. And then there's certain things that you can do that she didn't expect, ways that you react to things that you say, opinions, stuff like that. Makes her rethink you, like, oh, I'm getting to know this guy again. There's a couple more steps, and then there's a point where you need to start talking about other women, but not in like, oh, I met this woman and she was very beautiful. No, it's going to be like, there's this woman at my work and she's so dumb, but she's sexy as fuck. I can't I've got to bang this girl. Little like jealousy plot lines like that. So because she has to remember that you are this sexual creature. Because a lot of guys who are in the friend zone, they become like this monk. They become this non-sexual creature. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got, but if you demonstrate that, if you communicate that to her, it's going to be too much. So if you say, "Oh, you're hot as fuck," it's like, okay, well, get back in your place. You were in the friend zone. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So you've got to get it slow. You've got to introduce it slowly. And oh, he thinks this woman's hot. He's never said I'm hot. He's never said I'm sexy. He used to say I was pretty. He doesn't really say that anymore. He doesn't even give me compliments. And that's when you can start then positioning it towards her, using, for instance, double-sided compliments. Like, you know what, you look nice, but if you were wearing high heels, you'd be sexy as fuck. And to use that word sexy, drop it in. So you're not telling her she's sexy. She could be sexy. So it's gone from this woman's sexy to you could be sexy. So it's like a nice little, it's like a little build, just a little build up to get to that point until she feels very comfortable and is almost like sort of gagging for you to actually say, you look really fucking sexy. But it takes time to get there. Yeah. That's very important about the friend zone. Please, please, guys, do not listen to anyone that says you just have to tell her how you feel. Do never do that. So women are not like men. So a man, if I was with a friend, a guy, really what I could do is I could sort of dim the lights, put on some music and, get him a bit horny. It's literally dim the switch, say a few things, wear something provocative. Women are not like that. You can't suddenly put her in the mood like that. If you're in the friend zone, you've got this very incremental steps. And the longer you've been in the friend zone, the more incremental and longer those steps are. I mean, I've helped so many guys in the friend zone. So it does take time and it takes discipline. It takes a lot of discipline.
Definitely. Yeah. So let's go over this. The other thing I thought was really great was the concept of attraction triggers. Do you have a list of attraction triggers that you talk about? Attraction
triggers?
Do you have specific ones? Different attraction triggers might be like height or charisma or, are there some that you specifically have? Like I remember Mystery had 5 that he kind of leader of men, protector of loved ones, etc. Were there a list of attraction triggers? Because I've heard you talk about it on other videos about different things that are attraction triggers for women.
My goodness. Universal ones is being unapologetic. That's very important.
I remember this. Yeah. Yeah.
Man must be totally, what is that saying? The Shakespearean quote, be true to thyself. It's very important that guys understand that. They can't flip-flop between things. They've got to have this strong reality. Women find that very attractive. A man with a strong reality really doesn't care what other people think. This is my reality. The second one would be to have a positive mindset. And what I mean by that is women are looking for the hero. They're looking for their hero. And a hero can't be somebody who falls apart and panics the first moment of trouble. Okay, he needs to show that he's got solutions. He has solutions to a situation. He has faith in his destiny, and he's basically a positive outlook on life. He's a can-do person. That's also an attraction trigger. God, there's so many. Being able to connect with a woman is very important. So a lot of guys kind of think, I've got nothing in common with this woman. Well, of course you don't have anything in common with this woman. She's 21 years old and you're 40. What the hell do you have in common? So you've got to try and find connections. So, for instance, you speak to a woman and she says, I don't know, I like to play tennis. Let's just put something simple. Like, I like to play tennis. And you don't like to play tennis. Rather than going, well, I don't like to play tennis. Let's change the subject. You can say, what is it about tennis that you like? Are you a very competitive person? She would say, yeah, I'm very competitive. And then you can bring it back to you like, well, I'm like this. So it's that moment of connection with a woman. Validation is really, really important. Validating a woman in her good behavior, things that please you, showing her that she's made the mark compared to other women. So let's say she's not someone that looks at, let's say she's someone that's polite to the waiter. You can say, I like that fact about you. It's very important to me. I don't like women who are rude to the staff. It shows bad upbringing, or it shows bad breeding, or it shows she's an idiot. So you've basically made that line between her and the ones who didn't make the mark. That's very important. But also showing negative validation, such as like if she does something rude, like just general bad behavior, like she's looking at her phone while she's talking to you, you can just be like, don't be sulky, don't give her the sulk. Whatever you do, don't give the sulk, guys, and don't be aggressive about it. But you can be disappointed because you have to show her where the boundaries lie. Okay, that's what she's trying to work out, where the boundaries, how far can I push this guy? It's a little test. So if you can show that you're a man who says, what, I thought that you were somebody that you're one of these women that didn't look at their phones. I'm quite surprised, actually. And then dismiss it, have your evening, but make sure that she understands that the dynamics have slightly changed. She's out of favor now. And then she'll have to kind of work to get her favor back. That's very important. Man has to always be controlling the frame. He has to be controlling that all the time. That's just a few. I mean, there's so many I can go through. There's
awesome.
So many.
The other thing that you talked about, what I thought was really interesting, was the concept of red flags, like things that men should look out for in women. Can you go over those?
Men should look out for in women?
Yeah.
Okay, goodness. Oh my goodness. I remember that video. There's so many. Let me try and remember. I just always think that a woman's got a red flag. Now, see, I did that video a couple of years ago. I think you can fix it. I think if a woman shows a red flag, I now got to that point where it's like, you do this and then you fix it. Okay, so you get her back, and you basically dial her back into the frequency that you want. Okay, but in general, red flags would be, oh my goodness, oh yes, but these are like sort of long-term relationship, more kind of advice. Can I skip this?
Oh yeah, no, that's no problem at all. But yeah, no, I remember some of them about like being argumentative and stuff like that. There were like certain things that you had. Also, you talk about loneliness. You talk about when you're dealing with someone who's lonely. That one was really, because that's something I've seen before. Where I meet someone who's so beautiful, and we would talk to them, and it was just like there was this lonely depression, and nothing I could do to get them out of it. And I was like, and it was just one of these weird situations, like you said before. There was like this emotional drain. There was no way for me to give enough validation for them to fill it.
Yeah. Lonely people you've got to be very careful of, because what happens is you become their life, essentially. You will become their life. They've got no playmates. They've got nothing, they've got no friends. And you become their life and your friends and everything, and they become addicted. That becomes their world also. I'd be very careful with that. The woman does have to have interests, and she has to have things that are going on. This is another thing, red pill. It's like, the woman has to be completely dedicated to you. Like, no, you don't want that. She's going to become obsessed with you, and she's going to end up being the one that controls you. She's got to have her own stuff going on. She's got to have her few friends. She's got to have her interests, her hobbies. Otherwise, the lonely person, there's an old saying, loneliness loves company. Have you heard that saying? Loneliness loves company.
For sure. Isn't it funny? Yeah.
I remember that video. It's a long time ago. For me now, my teaching evolves every year. I just if a girl's got a red flag, this is how you fix it now. This is how you nip it in the bud, or this is how you correct it. So, yeah.
I have some clients. I have a lot of clients who are introverted. And one of the things I tell them is it's okay for you to be introverted, but it's a massive advantage for you to be extroverted. And I almost tell them, I make them slap the table, scream, let's fucking go, give themselves permission to be a bit more expressive. And I explain to them a lot of times, because what I'll do is I'll have them slap the table and say, let's fucking go. And the rest of us listening, we heard a 3 out of 10, but in their mind, they were a 10 out of 10 because they're their knobs, their sensors are a little bit off. This is what I find a lot of times with my introverted clients. I have to really allow them to give themselves permission to be louder and to be more expressive. Because one of the things that I found is that if you are very good looking and tall, you have a ton of stuff going for you, you're a famous actor, you've won an Academy Award, you absolutely being shy and awkward, that's very attractive to women. But what I found is that, like you've said before, going up and talking to a stranger, that is a extroverted action. And what I tell these guys is, even if you are introverted, there needs to be tools in the toolbox for you to be extroverted, to lead a conversation, to sound like a leader, to have a group of people be willing to listen to what you have to say. And you have a video over there about overcoming shyness with women and overcoming shyness with men. And I'm just curious, like, what is it that you, because I'm sure you have a lot of awkward, shy, introverted clients too. What is it that you advise them to do?
Okay, so what you do, for instance, with your introverted clients, that's fine as an exercise. And we do things like that too. There's certain exercises where they have to feel what it's like to be extroverted. They have to feel everyone's looking at them. Yeah, I get it. However, if they're an introvert, they're an introvert. And it's important that they attract women in a way that an introvert would and can attract a woman. So if a guy is very shy, we have a whole load of exercises to get him out of his comfort zone, to get him used to approaching women. But men can approach women and still be introverted. They can do it in a certain way. It's a more quiet way. It's not so, hey, look at me, and sideshow Bob kind of way. And both of them can be just as attractive. That's why I do know a lot of introverted men still attract women. Now, if they're not so good looking introverted men, yes, they're going to have to go and find that way to talk to a woman. And as you said, it is an extroverted act. So it's very important that they understand that what they're doing is an extroverted thing, but they're not extroverts. It's important that they remain true to who they are, to be authentic, because a lot of introverted guys do get women if they know how to do it. They have to be like the listener. They have to actually make a point that they like being who they are. Because this is what people get confused with. A lot of extroverts, they think, oh, they must not like themselves. And a lot of them don't like themselves because they think, oh, I'm shy and I'm nervous. But actually, they need to resell themselves they need to resell themselves to themselves. Almost like, okay, I'm quiet, I listen, I like to listen to people. I don't feel that I need to be the center of attention. I don't feel I need to get that kind of validation from people. So he needs to start feeling better about himself. But yes, you're right, he does have to still do that one thing, which is the approach. Okay, that's the hard bit. Most of our clients come to us and say, if I can just get over the approach, I'm good. I'm good. Right? The approach is the bitch. That's the really hard one. But but I wouldn't encourage introverts to become extroverts. I don't try and change people to who they are.
Another great video is you talk about when women pull away from the kiss, and then what matters most. It doesn't necessarily mean that she doesn't like him, but that his reaction to that is what's very, very important. Whether or not he is reactive to that. You mentioned in the story about a guy who you pulled away from a kiss and you ended up like really liking the guy or hooking up with the dude afterwards. And can you talk about that whole concept? It's almost like maybe not a shit test, but it's your reaction to these different things as a man that can trigger attraction.
We're going back to chess moves. Again, it's all chess moves. You've got a choice, guys. Either react emotionally or respond intelligently. Again, react emotionally or respond intelligently, and you will win the game. So if a girl pulls away, rather than sort of being awkward or shy, trying to change the subject, just be like, okay, this is going to be fun. Yeah, I like this. Show her that she's a bit of a challenge. This is good. Give it to me kind of thing. Like, yeah, bring it on. Because then she's going to sense, well, he's not used to women rejecting him, actually. Like, he finds it too easy. So if you say that kind of reaction, you have to be very committed to it, by the way. You have to be... it has to be very congruent. So when you say it, you have to really look like you don't care, right? So you're not affected by it. So you say like, cool, okay, so you're going to make this difficult for me, aren't you? That's good. And you can even say to, you can sort of love bomb the moment and say to, I just think you're absolutely stunning and I'm going to go for it. Now, this goes back to something. I know 3 women who are now married to men, and their opening line was, I'm going to make you my wife.
That's about as direct as you can go.
Yes. It's absolute love bombing to the I've been love bombed, and love bombing can really work. Again, you've got to be very committed to it, and you have to have certain other things in place in order to pull this off. But you can do it in that moment, going, you know what? I don't care. Make it as difficult for me as possible. I'm going to kiss you at some point. Make it 10 times. Make it harder for me as possible. You know, you can. There's all sorts of little things that you can do, little funny moves, little techniques and tricks and stuff like that, that can suddenly make it go, okay, I need to assess the situation differently. Because what happens is when a woman pulls away, she's thinking in her head, she's second guessing you already, thinking, oh God, he's either going to make this difficult for me or he's going to be really pathetic. And then you, boom, break the pattern. You need to rethink me now. I surprised you. Suddenly there's already you're building attraction just with that already.
There's another thing. David Buss has another book. It's called When Men Behave Badly, and it goes over male-female dynamics and evolutionary psychology. One of the things he talks about is that women do have an attraction, seem to be more attracted to what are called dark triad traits, which is the concept of Machiavellianism, sociopathy, and narcissism. And a lot of times I feel like I've actually heard certain PUAs straight up say you need to learn dark triad traits. I don't advise that at all. I think the price you have to pay personally for doing stuff like that, I think, is too much. But you mentioned the word reptilian, and can you talk about like maybe where that line is? Because you said before love bombing being an effective strategy. Love bombing is an effective strategy, but I think it's a really good strategy when you actually feel like you would want to be this person's husband, right? If you don't, I feel like it's one of these things where it can become really dark very quickly.
Yeah, it's manipulative. I agree. It's manipulative. I can't lie. It is. It is. Look, what I teach, I try and always say, keep it more congruent with who you really are. So an introvert doing a love bomb, it's going to look really weird. It's just not going to. It's not going to work as well. If you're quite an extroverted person like me, probably get away with it. You're a very playful person, and then you love bomb them. It's kind of going to be more authentic. Well, look, okay, you asked me where do you draw the line, and I would say, yeah, you're not going to say to someone, I've fallen in love with you and I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I don't mean at the opening line when everyone knows it's a fucking joke and it's like some big statement. I'm talking about like, yeah, okay, I wouldn't advise someone to do that if the woman really had developed emotions for him, feelings towards him, then yeah, I'd say, well, you're probably crossing a line here now because she's emotionally invested.
Sure.
But in early stages, I think anything goes. Fuck it, anything goes.
Yeah, and it's just one of these things where it's like, just because something works doesn't mean it's a good idea. Like dudes are running around giving girls Coke and Molly and having sex with them. It doesn't mean it's a good idea.
Oh, well, I'm not teaching that.
No, I know you're not. My point is, just because something works doesn't mean it's necessarily a good idea. And you could, like what you said before, I've seen dudes love bomb the shit out of women when they're dating like 16 other girls. And it's just like one of these things where it's like, I got to be able to go home and sleep at night. You know what I'm saying? I got to run a business. I want people to find me dependable. I want to feel good about myself. I have a conscience. And so, like, yes, there are techniques where you can go so dark and those things will work. But like you said before, being congruent to yourself, then I think is probably the most important thing. Because long term, you know, if you want this girl to be your girlfriend, she's going to see, is that who you really are as a person? So, and I think women are way more adept at picking that stuff out than men are. I think women are, they mature faster. The concept of break and rapport, this is really interesting. The way you say it, the way Adam Lyons says it, the way Jordan Belfort says it, the way I say it, and the way I've heard other different people, it seems like this term break and rapport means different things to different people. For Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street, he means destroying the sales call to the point where this is over. And I think what he's trying to say is severing rapport. When I say breaking rapport, I mean a subversion of expectation. So for me, breaking rapport would be, I'm talking to a girl out in the valet, and while I'm talking, I'm like, hey, you know, hope you have a nice time. And she's like barely paying attention to me. And then a super hot girl comes in, like kisses me on the cheek. She'd be like, wait, what the fuck just happened? Right? That, to me, a subversion of expectations is a break and rapport. For you were talking about a break and rapport, almost like a roll off, meaning you're talking to a girl and then at the high point of the interaction, you just roll off. Can you go over like what you mean when you say break and rapport?
Oh, yeah. So I've also encountered this where I'm talking about breaking rapport and the other person's like, that's not what I thought it meant. For me, it means like physically breaking rapport, physically leaving the person wanting more. So, for instance, if a guy approaches a woman in a bar, And you see, what can happen is in the interaction, it can start fizzling off. So it kind of reaches a lull. And that's actually where most guys ask for the telephone number. They think, well, I'm running out of things to say. Might as well ask for her number, right? It's not going to get any better than this.
Yeah.
And then they ask for the number. And then what's happened is because it's on that lull, it's on that low point, is that when he reconnects with her, she's not going to, the last moment that she had with him, she's not going to associate with this excitement as much. So chances are she's going to flake. But if it's on a high point, and then he says, you know what, I'm being really rude. It's my friend's birthday and I'm ignoring him. Let me catch you later. Okay. So she's going to be like, oh, okay, that was really good. And now he's gone. But he's not gone like in a rude way. He's explained himself. He said, look, I've got to go. I'm being rude to my friend. So then guess what? She's looking out for him a little bit more now. She's like, where is he? And that's what you need to do. You need to create that want. Okay. Sometimes that want isn't naturally, organically there. You need to create it. And then what happens is another thing is when a guy does that, he's saying, I'm not going to be hovering over you. I'm good. I'm not going to be that guy who's like, right, you've shown a bit of interest in me and now I'm all yours for the rest of the evening, which guys do quite a lot. He's kind of like leaving her to the wolves. He's like saying, right, okay, have fun. I'll come back later. He's got that kind of confidence in himself. But really, it's that she's going to be left wanting more. Also, breaking rapport is a good thing because the guy can be like, you know what, I was with my friend. I meant to come back to you, but it's his birthday. Just swap numbers. And she's going to be more likely to give the number then because she's like, he's come back and she doesn't want to lose him again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Breaking rapport is good for guys that think I'm running out of things to say. Oh shit, it's coming. I'm just going to make my really good excuse and sort of reboot. So it's good for that also.
Yeah. I'm sure you've probably been to Excess here in Las Vegas. I would, sometimes I'd walk in like big groups of girls in there and they'd want to go see some DJ. So I would take them to some stage table. And then I'd go there and then I would just leave them. I'd be like, all right, guys, have fun. And then I would just leave. And I would always get this text message a couple minutes later. Where are you? Come save. It's always come save us. Come. And then when I would go back and find them, the attraction levels were through the roof because they had been around creepy dudes. So it was me doing the takeaway. Right. And I was also subverting expectations. Every other dude was hitting on them. And I was just totally willing to walk away. And then I started getting these messages, come save us from the creepy guy. You also made another video where you talked about women leaving the creepy guy. So can you go into that whole idea?
Is that women leading the creepy guy?
Leaving. Like walking away from the creepy guy. I'll give you an example. I used to go out in Los Angeles all the time. And I knew where all these like pickup boot camps were. And I would go to I feel horrible saying this because some of these guys are my friends, but I would go to the pickup boot camps and I would just stand around and just be fucking normal and just be like, hey, what's going on? What did that fucking dude say to you over there? And the girl would just go off and tell me a story about the weirdest thing that she's ever experienced in her entire life, and then just keep talking to me. And while she's expressing the story, she's touching me. She's like, oh my God, he was so fucking weird and all this kind of stuff. And I've just, it's just something that I've noticed recently that if women are around a lot of creepy dudes or dudes who try too hard, it's like very easy to talk to them afterwards.
Creepiness is a weird thing, isn't it? Creepiness, what is it exactly? So I did a whole, this is back when I had DVDs.
Yeah.
About creepiness. So creepiness, it's a feeling. It's not an actual kind of thing. It's like if you take 100 women and say to them, what is creepiness to you? They'll all have this kind of different reply. The guy who's perverted, my goodness, are you mad? Like some of the guys at the best game are the biggest perverts I've ever met. It's this. It's because he says it like this. It's because the guy is attaching shame with what he wants.
Okay.
He's coming from a scarcity mindset rather than an abundant mindset. Okay, so look, like I said, I know one guy, biggest, oh my God, wild pervert. Wild.
Yeah.
And girls loved him. Girls loved him because he wasn't ashamed about it. He wasn't insecure about it. And if the girl wasn't interested, he was like, all right, well, there's the door, fine, whatever, I can get it from somebody else. And I think with creepiness, it comes down from shame, embarrassment, uncertainty, and neediness. If you combine all those with being, showing sexual desire for someone, it clashes.
Yeah.
Clashes. Also, creepiness can be when a guy likes a woman, but he's playing it too safe.
Sure.
So he's being nice to her. She knows he's interested, but he hasn't got the confidence to do anything about it. And that, again, is anti-game. It's that clash. And then they go, because people don't know how to articulate it, they'll just say, oh, it's creepy. And the guy goes, oh, how was I being creepy? So people put the word creepy down, as they sort of name things as creepy, but it's not actually creepy. Me and you can sort of break it down and say, no, this is what it is.
Sure.
You just decide.
Sure. The first explanation I'd ever heard was incongruency. And then the second one, I believe it was Sadia Khan and also Helmath. They have this explanation, which is basically creepiness is things that are non-masculine. So like what you said before, what were you saying? Adding shame to things, right? Like that would make things kind of creepy. So I like that definition. That was the definition that made the most sense to me. It's like being able to do things. They were specifically talking about the ick, when girls get the ick when it comes to guys, or when girls feels like that guys are creepy. It tends to be like a lack of masculinity in some of the things that they do. But I mean, I appreciate your candor on this. This is a really interesting subject. Because a lot of guys do this. They don't even know why. And girls are like blocking them. I have guys that hit me up and they're like, yeah, I just talked to this girl and she just blocks me. And I'm like, bro, I promise you if we went and saw this, your voice is cracking. Your eyes are big as shit in your fucking head. You've complimented her 7 times. Like you've probably stood around her, thought that she didn't notice you were orbiting. And you think you didn't do anything, but you did something. And those things all kind of come back to being like non-masculine.
That guy needs to break rapport.
Exactly. He needs to break rapport. He needs to eject. Ejection handles in between your legs, buddy.
And reboot.
For sure. Yeah, I do like the rebooting thing. It's a weird story because you brought up the friend zone thing. There was a girl who I thought was probably one of the prettiest cocktail servers I'd ever seen. She worked here, and her and I were friends because we both watched Game of Thrones. We both read like a lot of similar books, but she had a boyfriend and I had a girlfriend at the time when we met. So we were just friends. We would just talk like about nerdy shit, but I thought she was stunning. Fast forward a couple years, like I'm not dating anyone anymore, and it was her birthday party, or it was her birthday, so I took her out to a club with me, and I go to this party, and there was a bunch of models there that I knew that I was friends with, and 2 of the models start dancing with me the whole night, and I'm like not paying attention to my hot friend at all, like not whatsoever. She's drinking, having a good time, no interest whatsoever, because she's just my friend. I've just never gone there in my head. And I just knew so many beautiful women. It just wasn't that big of a deal. Anyway, so we leave, and this girl is just watching these girls like all over me or whatever. We leave, and we go back to my place, and I'm like, hey, do you want to watch Battle of the Bastards, which is one of the episodes in Game of Thrones? And I boot it up, and I turn over, and she's just naked. And it was just one of the weirdest things. It was like, because I had a total abundance mentality, did not pursue her in any way whatsoever, but just consistently allowed her to see attraction triggers, including pre-selection. It was just like the attraction led to that point with like very little effort. And it happened again later. It was one of the weirdest things. And we never talk about it. Well, we talk about it sometimes, but it's just one of the weirdest things. It was just like supposed to happen. I don't know how to explain it.
It's funny when I hear stuff like that. I'm like, I couldn't ever do what that woman did. What your friend did. I'm not saying she's right or wrong. I just couldn't do it.
I've had that happen numerous times.
Seduce me. I love a man to seduce me and take my clothes off. I can't. Oh no! I like him to undress me like I'm a present, like I'm a gift. I love all that. I couldn't just get naked and be, I'm in the bed waiting for you, honey. I couldn't do it. Apart from the young ones, sometimes they say, oh, can you do the whole seducing thing for me, please? That's their little thing that they've been wanting to do. But with like a guy my kind of age or just a bit younger, I couldn't. That's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting because I'm used to the opposite. I'm used to like whenever I'm seeing someone, them being more aggressive sexually, initiating it than me. And then like once we start, huh?
So, sorry, can I ask you a question?
Sure, yeah.
So women seduce you aggressively, you just said.
So let's say I'm seeing someone, I'm used to them like initiating the sex. Like maybe not the first time, but afterwards, that's kind of what I'm used to.
Relationship's a bit different, but I'm talking about, how do you feel about that? Because from what I understand, I think men prefer it when a woman is being like they're seducing a woman.
Again, in the first couple times for sure, but like I have a polygynous lifestyle, so like my girlfriend and I see other women together. They're usually the ones like I need them to come on to me. Like that's the way it works. Also with polygynous lifestyles, like if you're trying to have a threesome, if you're the creepy dude with the other girl who comes in, it doesn't work as well. She needs to initiate that, and then they need to in their own time come to you. It's just much smoother. That's what I found after like 20 or 30 times doing this, that works. That tends to work a little bit better. But I'm used to, once I get into a relationship, like I'm always used to, I don't, maybe it's because I fucking hang out with, I used to go to the Playboy Mansion. I hang out with Bilzerian. I'm used to women initiating with me most of the time.
Really?
Yeah.
I couldn't ever do it with a guy.
Yeah, I
could
know,
never.
and I hear women say this all the time, and I totally understand it. And I will tell you right now that if I was, you know, you mentioned you were in your 40s, and if I was 22, I went out with a girl who was in my 40s, her maybe mid 30s when I was 22, and I was hyper aggressive, like what you're saying before. I was taking her clothes off 100%. That's how it was. It's just I don't know what it's happened in my old age. Maybe I've just gotten spoiled or whatever. But that's something. That's something that's happened. That's definitely something that's happened to me. Now, once we start having sex, like I'm totally into it. But like in the beginning, I've just gotten used to women initiating with me.
I think I'm also quite like because I'm quite alpha in a lot of like I have a lot of masculine qualities, to be honest, or just attributes we should say.
That is very, very insightful that you like done the shadow work to see that. Have you ever had your testosterone levels checked? Women think when women have high testosterone that makes them masculine. It's not. If you have too much, it will. But what it actually does is, you notice men don't have to wear makeup. We don't have the same blemishes that women do because our skin is thicker. It's also a weird thing. Like, dude, when I don't want to go into this, but it was like I've talked to plastic surgeons, and they were like, when we put breast implants on transsexual men, the implants stay better because their skin is better. It's crazy. Like, listen to some of these stories.
Very tight skin.
Huh?
I've noticed that. So maybe, yeah, because I do think like a man.
Yeah.
A lot of how I operate is like a man. So that when the sexual side of me comes out, I'm very feminine.
Yes.
Because that's what women who are alpha, any guys out there who like those kind of boss bitch, whatever you want to call it, those kind of women, they're very fragile in bed, and they like to feel feminine when it comes out in the bedroom.
Yeah.
So maybe the women that you're interested in are kind of like very feminine and quiet like that on the surface, but then, you know, they're freak in the bedroom a bit.
Yeah, that would be accurate. But
Polarity. It's the polarity.
It's the polarity. Yes, the polarity. Yeah.
I think like a man in a lot of things. The way I deal with things is very much like a man and stuff. And I've never had this whole kind of thing like I think men are worse than me or better than me, or I just see them as my equals. And I've had that since I was very, very young. I've always seen men as equals, rightly or wrongly. People, you know, can have their own judgment on that.
Yeah.
But I do know that in the bedroom, I'm very, very feminine, and that's my outlet. So I think that a lot of women are like me. If men like that kind of alpha woman, then he has to be he has to be, you know, in control in the bedroom department.
Yeah, for sure. That was the next thing I was going to bring up. If you have higher testosterone, you're actually going to burn more body fat easier, like later on in life. So like obesity tends to happen with men when their testosterone levels go lower, then they start producing more estrogen or they have more body fat, and then their testosterone gets aromatized through their body fat into estrogen, and it creates this cycle where they just keep getting fatter and they get the man boobs and all this kind of stuff. And so that's something that happens. So whenever I see women, it's a compliment when I say, oh, do you have higher testosterone? It doesn't mean you're masculine. It just means like, do you have, you have like nicer skin, and then like they have an easier time staying skinny in their 40s and 50s. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I don't eat. I watch what I eat also.
Got it.
But okay, well, we're back. Let's go.
Beautiful. So the other thing I want to ask you about is there's this controversy now. It kind of got started with Mia Khalifa, where, you know, she leaves pornography and then she says porn should be illegal, all this kind of stuff. But then she makes a statement. She says that older men who want to date younger women, something like they should be locked up or they have a mental disorder. I forgot exactly what her statement was on this. And she said this before, and it was one of these really interesting revelations, because when she was younger, I don't believe she would have said the same thing. Now that she's older, and a lot of the men that she chooses don't want to be with her because she used to do pornography, or they just want to, you know, to date her short term, she starts to say these things like these men are like mentally handicapped for wanting to date younger women. It's something I'm sure you deal with pretty frequently, where you have older clients who want to date younger women. What do you think about that whole thing, and why do you think it's so controversial now? The terms like grooming come out, things like that, where people are making videos like, if there's a 10-year age difference, then it's like something that's immoral or should be illegal.
Well, why don't they say the same about me? Why does everyone say, you go, girl, when I tell them I date 19-year-old boys?
Because the power dynamic. In these circles, men are a privileged class and women are a protected class, so you can't groom a man. That's not the way they look at it. I can't
tell you how easy it is to groom and manipulate a young man.
For sure. I agree with you. That's my point. Can you go into this whole situation?
As much as a woman, they get totally fixated on older women. They do it. You can do the whole mummy thing with them. I mean, it's so much you can do with younger men to manipulate them. So I think that's unfair. I think that if you're going to say that about older men, you have to say about older women also. And the reason why men want younger women is the same reason almost not exactly, but a lot of the reasons are the same as why an older woman wants a younger man. With my students, I never judge what they're into. If they say they want a bitchy woman, fine, let's find you a bitchy, difficult woman. That's what you like. I don't sit there and go, you must like this kind of woman. The only time I intervene is if they say they want children and they're starting to say stupid things like they want to date a 39-year-old. That's the only time I'll intervene.
Of course.
It makes perfect sense why a man would want to be with a younger woman. It's a no-brainer. I think there are qualities that older women have, for sure. But if I was a man, I'd be dating 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds. I mean, I don't even understand men who like older women. I get this whole sexy thing and things like that. But to look at, you can't compare them to a younger woman. So it's a no-brainer to me why men want younger women on the whole. I think they end up marrying older women somehow. I've noticed that. A lot of successful men marry older women.
Isn't it funny, like, when this journey started, and when I'm going to say this journey started, let's just say like the game in 2003, whatever, when they're writing in 2000. Isn't it funny how these weren't questions that anyone was asking back then? It wasn't a function of like older men dating younger women or the function of body count. Like, these things didn't even exist. I just knew guys, they were in pickup and there was like, how many girls did you have sex with? Which, by the way, I don't think that's healthy either, but it was a point of like, the leg count was higher, therefore better coach. Like, that was it. There was no consideration for her credit score, whether or not she came from a good family or whether any of this had any bearing on society whatsoever. It was just like, fuck more girls, better. That was it.
I'm like that. I agree with that. I'm somebody that believes in results. If I'm not getting results, or if my client's not getting results, something's gone wrong here. I think a lot of this red pill stuff, going back to its philosophy, all sitting around going, this type of woman, you should have that kind of woman and stuff like that. Just get off your fucking ass and go talk to a woman and start getting the results and then give us the lecture. Until then, spare me the lecture. The good thing about PUA days is it was all how to do. What to do. It wasn't about you should go for this kind of woman or that woman. It was just like, if you encounter this kind of woman, this is what you do.
Yeah.
I prefer that. I think some of your viewers are going to look and go, well, I don't like the sound of that. Okay, fine. This is not for you, what I teach then. But what I teach, I just have guys that come to me and say, what do you want? This is the quickest way to get there. This is how you do it. This is the things that you're going to encounter. This is how to counteract them. And that's it. That's what it used to always be about. And I think guys who used to go to these PUA boot camps and stuff, which we all kind of laugh at a little bit now, actually did get results. Because I went on Mysteries boot camp and I went on, JT Tran.
Of course. Yeah, he lives out here.
We did joint boot camps together. Our guys used to get laid. You used to take them to, where was that place in
hey, next time you want to do one, listen, next time you come out to Vegas, I'll just get all your dudes in anywhere you want for free because I work for all the nightlife groups here and I host the 3 biggest bikini competitions in Vegas. I'll talk to the head of the nightlife groups and then your guys can hang out with my immersion guys. We should do something. That'd be great. I'd love that.
I'd love that too.
We do a full week. Now ours is a little bit different because we're doing a lot of social media stuff, but they have to wake up in the morning and take photos, and then at night they have to go out every night. So it's exhausting, the shit that I put them through. But yeah, I think it'd be something interesting. I don't know how often you come to Las Vegas.
We should be going there. We do boot camps out there and 7-day mastery programs out.
Do you do it during the week? Are you here during the week? Yeah, because so it's way easier. Like I could get 40, 50 dudes into a club during the week. On the weekend, it gets a little harder. That's the only difference. But yeah, that's why we do our during the week.
Weekends and weeks. I mean, like my team goes out there and they spend like last time we got a month out there.
Oh wow.
Yeah. But yeah, back to what I was saying. So we used to take them to. Do you remember? Is it Sky Bar? Do you remember that in LA?
Sky Bar it's still there. It's Sky Bar is inside the Mondrian. We just hosted a charity event for breast cancer a couple weeks ago there, a pink party with a bunch of playmates. Yeah, we did the Sky Bars in the Mondrian. It's beautiful.
And I used to go then, and the guys used to get laid, and I'm questioning how many of these red pill guys are getting those kind of results. I would like to know. Actually, I had a podcast. I used to have a podcast, and I thought that the original red pill guy was Coach Red Pill.
No, the original red pill guys are Roosh, Rollo, and Royce V, Roosh, and Rollo Tomasi. Those are the 3 original guys. The other 2 dudes are not really involved anymore. Yeah.
Coach Red Pill. That was his name. He was like from Chile, living in Ukraine.
How long ago was this?
4 years. No, he's really well known, this guy.
No, I'm sure there is a Coach Red Pill. I'm just saying the term came into use in like 2001.
Okay, I didn't. Yeah. Oh, really? Okay, I didn't know that. But anyway,
this manosphere existed while pickup was going on. It was just so much smaller back then, and it was based on like these posts about male-female dynamics and evolutionary psychology. That was different from the pickup community because these guys never met in person. The pickup community was let's all meet in person and go Sarge together, which by the way was fucking fun. I've done it over 10,000 times. I totally understand. My point was like it was just interesting seeing these two pathways grow and then eventually sort of merge, like say around 2015, 2016, where it's like this one big manosphere now.
Okay, so this guy, Coach Red Pill, he basically invited me onto his channel. And then at the end of it, it was like, he's even said, like, I agree with her on most things. So a lot of what I teach is actually very sort of aligned with Red Pill. But I just can't be bothered this whole women are bitches kind of thing, or women this, or like, just deal with it as it comes. And this is how you do it. Again, it goes back to chess moves.
Yeah, I would tell you that most people in that space don't feel that women are bitches. What they feel, what's happened though, is the things that go viral are those things. Does that make sense? So like what'll happen is, this is something I've noticed because I post 30 clips a day. I have a team that does all my clips for all my different programs. And whenever I say, hey, men, just to let you know, no one's coming to save you. There's no reason for you to be a passport bro if you're overweight. You need to fucking lose weight. The older you get, it's going to be harder to lose weight. I teach them things about like fucking breath strips, you know, the mouth tape. Stop breathing through your mouth when you sleep. I try to give them good advice on like intermittent fasting, stuff like that. Doesn't go viral. Kezia, it doesn't go viral. You should stop watching porn. Doesn't go. You want to make a video that doesn't go viral? Talk about not watching porn. That does not go viral. And then as soon as I have a video up there where a girl's like, yeah, I think the average guy in the United States is 6'2" and makes $100,000 a year, the dudes are like, dumb 304, she's delusional. And it goes incredibly viral. So I think what's happened is the Red Pill community was just basically a description of what was going on, but certain aspects of it just got way overblown. And the audience, and what's happened is because of the lens of the things that were rewarded on social media, which is like things like drama and conflict, specifically YouTube, because of those debates and those dramas, and you see the thumbnails with the people are like mad at each other and they're looking at each other as like ultimate debate, heated debate, whatever. When you see those kind of things, that's rewarded on social media. And so what happened is, and this, by the way, this happened to Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate said a lot of things about a lot of shit. The things that went viral, though, were if I'm married to a woman, she's my property. That's what went viral. And so because of that, then that's all he was from that point forward. There was no depth to his character. Everyone just thought that's all he was. And he has a program where he teaches you 18 different ways of making money. That never goes viral. And so that's the thing that sort of happened is, and then it started becoming this feedback loop. Now the guys who are the content creators are like, if I make more lascivious content holding women accountable, I will get more viewers, and then the cycle begins. Does that make sense? And then the cycle, the algorithm then shapes. The algorithm then shapes what is rewarded, and then that's where things got out of hand. And you'll notice you don't see that as much on TikTok, but you see it a lot more on YouTube.
All I can say is thank God I'm not on TikTok. I only follow 7 people on Instagram. I don't have any of those apps on my phone apart from Instagram because I can't get access to certain features on there. But everything else is done through my laptop. I'm so mindful of my attention.
For sure.
I look at anything, and if someone's got an angry, screamy face on the thumbnail, I'm not watching it.
It's just so funny. Like our generation, like the guys I grew up with had all been in a fist fight. They'd all have gone up and talked to a girl. They'd all been rejected. And when I talk to like 25-year-old kids now, they're just not aware of any of these concepts. You know what I'm saying? None of these things have ever happened. It was just really weird noticing the difference.
They're sitting
exactly right. Yeah.
Getting fat and looking at their phones.
Yeah, I just don't think human evolution works fast enough to catch up to the massive change in stimulus that happened once the iPhone was in our hands in 2007. I just think that
control, like I have. You never see me hunched over looking at my phone. You have to at some point be mindful. I deleted my Twitter account. I had 50,000 followers, deactivated it. I said, no, it's taking too much of my attention.
Interesting. You should just hire people to do that. Just get more clients. It'd be great.
I'm rich enough now. I can do it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're rich enough now. You can do it. Okay.
But when you do it, okay, I'm not going to lie.
Listen, I'm never rich enough to not make more money. But yeah, I feel you. I'm rich enough to hire someone to do it. I'm rich enough to hire someone to do it.
No, I don't even want that because I just know that I will end up looking at the comments and things like that.
Yeah, it sucks.
I'm very mindful of my attention. I'll give you an example. I like to take, believe it or not, I like to take public transport sometimes. I really enjoy it. It's my way of kind of just connecting with the world.
You have higher than average testosterone. If you will enjoy taking public transport, you're ready. Have you ever been in a fist fight?
No.
Really? You never got into a physical altercation with another girl? Never, really?
I did, but I was like 15.
Okay, all right. Okay, got it.
No,
okay.
I'm so weak. I've got no muscle at all. I'm just bones and boobs. But anyway, so I was on the train. I do like it because it kind of makes me, I don't want to be in an ivory tower too much. I don't want to be in a bubble too much. I like to see what's going on in the world.
Agreed.
So I was on this train and I saw sitting opposite me a unicorn 11. This was one of the most beautiful women I had ever seen in my life. Yeah. I mean, it was unbelievable. And everyone was looking at their phone and no one saw this unicorn apart from me. And I just thought, look the fuck up, people. There's opportunities, there's things around you.
You didn't ask her out? There's new opportunity. There's opportunities.
I'm the most heterosexual person on this planet.
So this is another thing. Have you noticed, this is just complete, I wasn't going to ask you about this, but have you noticed the spectrum with women, how different it is with men? I just know some women that are 50-50, men and women. I know a ton of women like this. I know some women that date men but prefer women more than men, a lot of them. And then I know some women, like you said before, 100% heterosexual, have no interest in women whatsoever. But there seems to be this massive spectrum when it comes to women and not so much when it comes to men.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, because men, of course, because the physical act is completely different, isn't it? Yeah. The sexual act. I can tell you something that I think this should be the last thing that I mention. This is going to be probably the most controversial thing.
Okay.
A lot of women, I would say most women, secretly fancy bisexual men.
That's pretty controversial. I don't know if that's true, but we're going to do a poll. How about that?
They won't admit it.
You think most women secretly fancy bisexual men? That's what you think?
They get turned on by them, but they won't admit it because they know that men don't like the idea that they fucked a man that's fucked other men.
Do you secretly fancy bisexual men? Huh?
Course, but I'm very open. I just speak openly.
Got it.
I like the men I go with are heterosexual, but there are bisexual men that have been like, it's that thing about them.
We're talking about like the emo fucking Boy George type of thing. Yeah, the emo thing.
Face. Yeah, talking about the guy who's like, now and again I like to fuck a man because it's like, oh my God, he's got all this passion and it's kind of like he'll just go and fuck this guy. It's like it is that artistic kind of guy, and he's a bit young and stuff, and it is more that kind of guy. It's not going to be possibly like the 50-year-old. No, but even then, it's kind of it does turn women on. A lot of women. When you sit, I've spoken to women. I've said, what do you think of bisexual men? It's like, yes, it's a turn on. It's a turn on.
I cannot wait to have a little poll to see. Listen, I love this conversation. This is incredible.
I've been with guys, and when I admit it with them, they're like, oh, you'd let a man who's been fucked up the arse fuck you, and they get put off it. They don't like that idea.
Sure.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
So I conceal it, and a lot of women have to conceal it.
Yeah.
They do deep down. A lot of women, many.
I believe some women believe that. I don't know if most women think that way. I do know some women that are like that, and it always feels like there's some sort of mismatch that happened in adolescence where they're just like I know one girl who's very much that way. And it was because she had dealt with a boyfriend who was hyper masculine, extremely possessive and physically violent. And so because of that, she specifically looked for more feminine men. I'm not saying that's what's happening in all these cases, but I have seen that before. I just don't know most women are like that. I had a girl come on here.
The man has to be feminine. It's just the fact that he occasionally likes to fuck men. And so he's got this kind of thing. Unapologetic. Totally like, but again, okay, let's look at the bigger picture here. You can get away with so much by being unapologetic.
Sure.
You can get away with so much.
Yeah.
So having sex with a man, I had sex with a man a couple of times. I prefer women, but now and again with a man, it's all right if he's particularly good looking. I have now had one guy, and he started using that technique. He's not bisexual.
Yeah.
And he said for him.
Yeah, we called it gay game back in the day. Back in like '06, we called it gay game. Yeah, for sure. I know dudes who've done that before.
Yes, my
Yeah,
God,
but yeah, you remember gay game. But the thing about gay game was to get past the bitch shield in the fucking shit test. Girls did not shit test you or fucking give you when a dude acted like they were gay, and then afterwards you switch it up and turn into a heterosexual dude when you're naked and alone with her. Like that's what gay game was. But like I understand what you're saying, and I do think some women are like that. I just don't know that most. I had a girl on here, Jen Rufo, one time, and she was explaining that most men, if they would admit it to themselves, would be fine watching their partner fuck some other dude. And I was like, no, Jen, that's not true. I do admit that some men are like that. I just don't think most men are like that. And she got just decimated in the comments. What you're saying might be true. I don't know. I just don't know that most women.
Some of the men will agree with me. They'll say to me, it's completely untrue. But that's fine. Fair enough. I'm just,
you know what you should do?
Me and my friends have all said turns us on, but you can dismiss it.
No.
Guys tell me stuff that I don't get.
Yeah.
So guys, for instance, they talk about like girl next door, like how the girl next door is this big turn on for them and things like that. I don't get it. I don't understand it, but I don't dismiss it. It's like, okay, if you're telling me this, if you're telling me that this is what guys like, fine, I'll make note of it.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the time, because it's highly controversial,
a
lot of people understand that their gut reaction is like, oh, how could any woman like that? And there's some women who are like, they won't even permit themselves to like it. But you have to remember, like when we were doing this, things have changed a lot more now. It's like much more acceptable to be bisexual. Okay, so back in those days, in the game, it was like, ooh, you're gay. Oh my goodness, or you're bi. Like that, does that even exist? But things have changed now. So I've had this guy who started using that, like pretending he's bi, and he said it's worked very well.
You know what you could do? You could have to go to maybe some university in the UK, some of the evolutionary psychology department, and just mention to them like, hey, could you do an anonymous survey of women and then ask them if they find that to be attractive? That's the way I would do it. I would do an anonymous survey of like 2,000 or 3,000 women, and I think you could find out the answers from that because it's an anonymous survey. That's generally how it works.
You know what? I wouldn't do that. It's about, so the first time that there was one guy who was bi that I went for.
Yeah.
When he told me, my first reaction was like, oh, that was my first reaction. So before that, if you'd have told me, oh, would you sleep with someone who's bi? I'd say, probably not. Don't think so. But then when I encountered the moment, that's when it changed. Suddenly it was like, this is quite horny, actually. So I think a lot of those women, if they've not encountered a guy at that moment, would have said what I'd have said before, which is, probably not.
So until they've experienced it, they won't even know is what you're saying. Got it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Got it.
I would say to guys, play with it a little bit. Go to, you use the expression throwaway sets.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you go to girls that you're not really interested in, you go to some shit club, and then that's when you experiment. You do all sorts of styles of games.
I'll do one better. I'm going to have, next time we do Access Vegas, we'll have 12 girls on here, and I'm just going to ask them. I'll just straight up ask. Because there are some girls on here who will 100% say yes. These girls are incredibly honest, dude. Like these are.
But if they haven't had it, they want to know. That's the point. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay.
That's the thing.
I love it. All right. Hey, listen, I really appreciate you coming on. Been watching you for a while. I think the only time we actually met was 2012. It was my 35th birthday. I was at Paris. Do you remember Paris Hotel? There was a place called Lily Bar on top of Paris.
Wait, do you know someone called Richard
Laruna?
And he's Polish with like blonde mohawk he had?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he introduced us. That's right. I forgot his name. Richard I something. He's it starts with an I. I don't remember what happened to him, but yeah, he was the one who introduced us.
Gorgeous.
I was 35 years old that night. It was my birthday. It was in October, and I had my first ever drink of alcohol at 35 years old. And I remember you were there. And that's why I remember that whole time. But that was a long time ago.
I had a huge boot camp there. I had like 40 guys.
I remember that. Yeah.
And do you remember a guy there called Sasha?
Of course.
Oh my God, we need to talk offline about this.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of things that we probably a lot of people we know in common. I'm hopefully in a couple of weeks I'm going to get Mystery on. He's never done a podcast before, so I'm going to have him on my show. I've been friends with him. Yeah, I've been friends with him for 15 years, and we haven't. It's interesting because you understood the YouTube space. And Owen cooked it. Owen got into the YouTube space. I like
Owen.
Yeah,
I like him. A lot of people I've noticed online don't like him, but he was so nice to me.
Super.
Yeah.
I think he's one of the best public speakers I've ever heard too. I really do. I think he can light up a room probably better than anyone I've ever seen. Anyway, so they got into that, but there was a lot of guys that were in this space that are still stuck into the let's do the DVD set release along with an email blast, and then that's how we're going to promote my program. And I'm like, bro, you got to go on podcast. Like you have to, like, it's kind of the thing now. Like, yeah, well, I don't want to overexpose the brand. I'm like, there's no such thing as overexposing the brand anymore, bro. You just got to go. You got to, they're like, well, we're going to wait before we go on a podcast. I'm like, dude, you need to go on 90 podcasts before you release your fucking program. And in every one of them, just casually mention that you have a program. If you do that for a while, then you'll build up the business. That's what we did. I've gone on 400 since I started MOA. I've gone on 400 podcasts. I go on several a week. And it's been absolutely fantastic. Some of them are incredible. Some of them don't do any. But all of them we take clips from and we post them on our channel. And that's.
How do you get Ross Jeffries on?
Huh? Oh, I talk. So really funny. I don't know if I should even be saying this. I'm with Ice White and my whole team, and I'm at Dan Bilzerian at his house, and I'm sitting next to Dan at his poker table, and there's Ross Jeffries talking to Dan. It was the funniest shit ever. And Ross is explaining all these concepts to him, and he goes, Dan, I'm telling you, I can hypnotize you. And Dan's like, yeah, that sounds really great. Why don't you hypnotize Sartain over here instead? And like Ross Jeffries is trying to hypnotize Dan Bilzerian over the fucking, the laptop. Dude, it was so funny. I was like, bro, you out of your mind? Like, what are you doing? Yeah, that was a fun time, man. That was a fun time.
I think it's time for a revival of the old pickup artists. You need to get them all on your show.
That's the plan.
I know you're like they're not like really online as much. It's like send out an email blast and put out a DVD.
Yeah, but you remember what I'm talking about. You remember what I'm talking about, right? That was it. Like there was these outrageous email blasts you would get that would have ridiculous claims in there. It kind of got started when Mike Long got with Venusian Arts. It was like that. That's where you started to see. Maybe it was Venusian Arts or was the Mystery Method. I forgot which company he was with.
Oh yes, no, it was what's his name? That guy, Discovery.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it just like the claim started getting more and more outrageous, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on here?" But yeah, that's just a very interesting time.
In 3 words,
yes.
Just 3 words.
How to bang 7 strippers in one night? Yeah, it's like stuff like that. I remember. Anyway, it's just funny because a lot of those guys are kind of dipping their head back into this space, but like the space isn't the same anymore. You can't even say.
But they still have so much to value, like so much. So, for instance, like with Mystery, when I met him, I remember saying to him, you've got the Frank Sinatra quality and you're not sharing it with anyone, which is women want to mother you and fuck you at the same time. And Frank Sinatra had that quality. And he was just kind of like very cagey about it because he's very much like, no, I teach skills. You know, he's like me, teaches skills, what to do next.
Sure.
Rather than in a game kind of stuff. But people do need that. People still need to have that. I've not seen it online so much. It's just people arguing with each other. And I've been invited to these drama wars.
Yeah.
I've had personal messages going, can you go and say something about so-and-so? And I'll make sure it goes viral. I'm like, no way am I doing that. I even had like 7 guys make a video all about me and how terrible I was, and they're big names now. It was in 2000. It was 2020, and they did this whole video about me and how bad I was and stuff like that. And it was, you should intervene and make it into a big drama. I was like, absolutely not, no way. I'm there just to help people, and that's it.
Yeah, I would love. I would love to have
these videos now that I look at. It's just arguments, and it's again that philosophy and stuff like that. No, some people just want to look online and go, what do I do if a woman doesn't want to kiss me? How do I react so that I can get her to kiss me?
Yeah.
ABC, right? Just straight, what do I do next?
Yeah. The socioeconomics of dating were not something that we concerned ourselves with 20 years ago. I totally agree. All right, interesting, man. This has really been a great conversation. I would love for you to come out here. Next time you come out here, if you would like to do our show Access Vegas, we'd love to have you on. It's a live stream we do with a bunch of different people. Rolo will be on. It's a great ton of exposure. But and also if you want to use our studio here, Sticky Paws, you're more than welcome to. Let me know. But yeah, let me know next time you guys come to Las Vegas. I'd be very interested in checking it out. Where can people find you?
I just go to my website, kezia-noble.com.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Just one other thing, just has having a family, having kids, has that changed you at all as a coach? Has it made anything different for you?
It's changed me as a human being.
Yeah.
Being a mum, it's like everything. That's the only thing that matters, is being a good mum. So it's everything. Your whole Do you have children?
No. I have 3 cats.
Oh no, you're not a cat man. I'm a
Yes.
dog person.
Yes.
Oh my.
That's
No,
right.
you have to get rid of the cats.
I'm never getting rid of the cats. I love them. They're great.
So I've
Yep.
got a gerbil now because my kid wanted a gerbil. But
Yeah.
anyway, no, being a parent, it's all I ever wanted to be was be a mum.
Sure.
I didn't actually. I'm the anomaly. I didn't really want to have a husband or anything. I had a husband, didn't work out. I'm better off on my own with a child. I wanted a child more than anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, like I say, I'm the anomaly. You know.
Yeah. Beautiful.
But
Miss.
yeah, definitely, it's completely changed, but it's made me kinder. And one other thing that's very interesting is that men who I get in relationships with, they find that side of me, the mothering side, very attractive. Actually, the way that I am with my child, where I'm not Mrs. like boss bitch, you know, the boobs and everything, the lips, and then suddenly I'm like this kind of very playful. Let my kid climb over. Well, he's too old now, but you know, kind of like just I'm very hands-on with my child, and they say, oh, that side of you is very, very beautiful, very attractive actually. So that's quite interesting. I wasn't expecting that.
I love it. All right, Kezia, awesome. So they can check you out there. They can also check your Kezia Noble 18 on Instagram. That's what your IG is, so people can check you out there. You don't have a Twitter anymore, which is interesting. It's probably better off. You know, it's probably better. It gets pretty toxic there. I didn't realize how toxic it was till I got on there. It's crazy. But the worst commenters I've ever seen are TikTok commenters. They are the meanest people I have ever seen in my entire life, bro. Anyway.
Don't read the comments. Post and ghost.
Yes.
Keep to the rule. Post
sure.
and ghost. Do not get involved in the arguments.
For sure.
You're a grown man. Don't do that.
For sure. For sure. All right, awesome. Well, we'll see you soon. Hopefully, we'll have you on again sometime. If you ever want to do a live stream, let me know. Like it'll be like 80 guys on Zoom and they ask questions. If you ever want to do that, let me know. I do it every other Monday.
Great.
For sure.
If they'd like that, I don't think you know it's gonna. You know, if they can handle the truth.
I yell at them and I tell them, you're the first dude who's going to be somebody's bitch when you go to prison. Trust me, they can handle anything you have to say to them. It's not going to be an issue at all. It's really great having you on. It was very informative. Hopefully I'll talk to you again soon. And for the rest of you guys, thank you so much. For those of you, this is probably going to come afterwards, but we're doing, again, the world's biggest toy drive is going to be at... It's going to be at Dragon's Lair Gym this Sunday. It's absolutely going to be fantastic. We're trying to break the world record by getting the most toys into one place. We invite every influencer you know, tell every single person you know, just to get involved. Anything to do with Model Citizen Fund. We'd really appreciate your help. Thank you all you guys. We have so many new subscribers to the program, and I will see all you guys next week.